Okay. Should I just start with roll call? That's good. Okay.
Okay.
Hazra Ali. Ernest Augustus. Ernest, are you on the phone? No. Okay. Esther is here. Carrie Bailey.
Carrie is here.
It's Kari, everybody,
Kari,
please.
I'm
Think car. Like car
fine.
starfing.
Okay. There you go. All right. Daughtry is here. John is here. Bill is here. Carlton is here. Brian Howard is not here. I'm here. Yvette Richardson. No. Judy is here. So we have
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, well, I guess what we're going to do is start off. Start off with this hearing. And it's now 6:03 p.m. And we're going to start with the hearing in regards to 43 Clark Street and 111 Hicks Street. It's an application by the DGE Ventures for a change of variances. Basically, it's a change of a number of variances for the physical culture establishment. It's a physical cultural establishment that's located at the Clark Hicks Street location. And what they're looking for, it's already there. So we don't have to worry about building anything new, but they're looking for a number of items to change. They're looking to change business hours, for example, to go from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. early in the morning, although keeping the evening hours about the same. There's a change for the certificate of occupancy for this location as well. There's a, let's see, and there's a number of, and also a change for the variances so that they're allowed to have a 10-year extension on the for the applications with the and let's see what else we have. So there are a number of things that have, there will be a changes. They're looking to make, let's say, logistical and legal changes for this location so that they can be in compliance with the law. Ultimately, it'll be referred to the Board of Standards of Appeals. So now I'll ask whoever is presenting for 43 Clark Street, 111 Hicks Street to make your presentation. We will take any comments or questions from non-board people after this presentation has been made, and then we'll close the hearing, and then we'll move into the meeting portion. Okay, go ahead, whoever is on 43 Clark, 111 Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. My name is Howard Goldman. I'm the land use zoning attorney for this application. This technically seeks an amendment of an existing variance on the BSA's SOC special order calendar, which is created for minor changes in variances and some other relatively minor procedures. Nevertheless, it's referred to the community board for 60 days, and the community board has the right to comment on it to the BSA. Next slide, please. The applicant is DGE Ventures, and the co-tenants, or I guess the co-tenants, will be a nonprofit organization called Open Squash, which I guess is self-explanatory, and the Brooklyn Heights Fitness and Sports, which the name is a placeholder at the moment, but basically the nonprofit will operate the squash aspect of the facility, and the fitness and sports will operate the gym. The architect of record is Marvel, New York City. They will briefly speak to you guys. And principal of DG Ventures is David Ellen, who in his day job is an executive at Charter Communications. Okay, next. So basically what's going on here is there's been a variance in place here since 1979. Hang on one second, I apologize. The variance was issued because the facility is located in a residential district. It's in an R71 district. It's also in the Brooklyn Heights Historic District. But the variance was to have commercial use in a residential district, and that was in 1979, which is 43 years ago. The changes to the variance, very briefly, the main ones are to allow a new operator to change the hours that it's open from 8. It currently opens at 8 a.m. The proposal is to open at 6 a.m. The term of the variance is requested to be extended for another 10-year term. And then there are a couple of technical modifications. The C of O needs to be amended to list the information from the new variant. And because this application is more than 1 year before the current term expires, we need a waiver from the BSA to use that. But basically, the facility will continue to be used as a health and fitness establishment. The existing gym, the existing pool, the existing courts will all remain. The facility will also be redesigned and modernized. That exercise is underway now, and the plans are currently being prepared.
I noticed there were a whole lot of I was saying about 5 different applications for variance from 1979 right up to almost this year. I guess we can add that in as well.
Okay. Anticipated construction start 2023, anticipated completion and opening is in 2024. Okay, so I think that's it for me, and unless there are any questions. As far as the facility goes, there's one in Bryant Park that's open. There's one that's opening on Pearl Street in 2023. And then there's this one, which is scheduled for 2024. So I'm going to turn it over now to Scott Demmel. I'm sorry, not Scott. David Ellen comes next. David, take it away.
Sounds good. Can everyone hear me okay?
All
Yes.
good, David.
Okay, thank you. So first, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. As Howard said, I am the principal behind DG Ventures, and I'm really here on behalf of 2 affiliated entities that are going to share this space. As Howard said, about a third of the space will be the nonprofit, the third location of a nonprofit I co-founded called Open Squash. There's already a squash facility there, but now it'll be a nonprofit squash facility. I will talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but it will remain a squash facility, just kind of a new and improved one. Same thing, the other entity is the entity that is going to run the health and fitness club there. And again, that's not a major change of use. We're just going to renovate it, modernize it, and operate it. So in its fundamental use, there won't be much change, but hopefully, again, it'll be a new and improved space, and Scott can talk more about that. I will say that, I am a Brooklyn resident. I recently moved to Cobble Hill. My wife was born and raised in Brooklyn Heights on Remsen Street. Her mother lived for many years on Remsen Street and then Willow Street. Her brother-in-law lives on Willow Place. And so I have real strong ties to the neighborhood. And lastly, I actually was a member of the current squash and gym facility, Eastern Athletic Club, for a few years, about 10 years ago. So I've actually enjoyed that facility and understand its meaning to the community and to the neighborhood. And I certainly want to continue that. Quick word about Open Squash. Open Squash is a 501c3 organization whose mission is to make the sport of squash, to grow the sport of squash by making it more affordable and accessible. Think YMCA of squash. We have 25% of our members are on discounts, income-based discounts. And the idea is it's a terrific urban sport that provides fitness and fun and community. And we really just want to make it much more broadly available. Right now, it is too many courts are kind of only in private clubs, and to try to bring the sport to many more people is really the object. We opened our first location in Bryant Park a couple years ago, and even during the COVID, we sold out with over 450 members. So that emboldened us to do a second and third location. And again, as Howard said, 43 Clark Street will be the third location. So altogether, we'll have 23 courts and lots of programming and community activities across all three locations. So that's really, that's it in a nutshell. Happy to answer questions now or later.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
I think
Thank you,
Scott,
David.
I think Scott's
Yeah.
up next.
Yeah, sure. Hi, thank you, David, for going through your background in open squash. My name is Scott Demmel with Marvel Architects here in the city. We are the architects of record for the project. And what I'd like to do quickly, just being mindful of the time, is take you through some of the documents and orient you with the facility. The existing facility that's there today contains the existing courts that are non-regulation squash today in the top left-hand side. On the bottom left-hand side, you can see an image of the pool that's there and will remain. And on the right-hand side, a portion of the gym floor with some of the various equipment there for cardio and other recreation work. A little bit about Marvel. We're happy to be a part of this team and working on this project. Most recently, we have completed some work for a new construction YMCA building in the Bronx, and also in Brooklyn, the conversion of the Bedford Union Armory, converting that into a recreation center. So we're hoping to bring some of those ideas to work with David Ellen and his group here in Brooklyn Heights. For our location for this facility, just to orient you, the circle that's on the bottom left-hand side on the zoning map shows where the site is positioned within the neighborhood. And similarly, an aerial view from Google showing its location between the harbor and the central municipal district of Brooklyn and Borough Hall. The location of the building of the tenancy is within a large residential tower at 43 Clark Street. It's actually at the base of that building. And the entrance coming into that facility, as you can see on the street, on the left-hand side is a prior image without some of the scaffolding, and the right is as you see it today in its presence. Again, this is the only entry that comes into the tenant space with that awning and storefront that's present opening onto Clark Street. The block plan identifies lot 17 and 19 for this application. The bulk of the space is within 19, and the entrance, which we just saw from the street view, passes through lot 17. And as was mentioned by Howard at the start, we're in process of developing the plans for this facility. But what I'd like to do is show you some of the existing facility plans today, just for your orientation overall. Moving from the lowest level, the cellar plan, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the plan, the swimming pool and hot tub, which will remain. The main strength training and gym floor is on the left-hand side of the plan. And also on this floor is the women's lockers adjacent to the pool. The next level up actually overlooks that main cardio space and workout space in the pool. You can see the women's locker room. And also this is the entry level coming into the site if you entered in from Clark Street, descending across this corridor that's here. The first floor plan is where the existing courts are located. Those will be renovated to be regulation squash size courts. And then finally, the uppermost level has an upper court up above those primary courts, and there's various studios that exist at this mezzanine level with a dance center and other facilities there for various studio activities. In cross section, the space can be seen its whole. On the right-hand side of the plan is the Clark Street entry that's there, and that single storefront door. Users come down the staircase and walk across the entry space and lounge, and then either go down to the strength training area or up to what is now the racket courts that are there. And the bulk of the residential building extends above this tenancy space. So that's all that we have today to present for the graphics. And again, thank you for your time, and we open it up to any questions that you may have for the group. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If there's nothing further.
Well,
from the-
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt,
go.
but Carl,
Okay, good.
Carlton put 2 questions on chat, so we might as well address them if it's okay with you.
Oh, okay. Wasn't me, but go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry, just for a point of clarification, this is for public comment. Is John Dew considered a public member, Taya? Sorry, John.
John is a full member of the committee, so he should wait for the committee deliberation after the hearing closes, please.
Thanks.
Yes, right. So,
I'm
yeah,
putting my
just to make that.
questions in early. I didn't expect them to be.
Okay, well, those are comments, any comments or questions from those of us on the committee or on the board will have to hold that until we get to the meeting part of this get together. However, I can open it to any non-board, non-committee person. So if there is a non-board or non-committee person, you can speak up, or if there is a non-board, non-committee person on the chat, you can answer the question. It'll make it confusing. I'm sorry, but just are there any non-board, non-committee people who wish to speak in regard to the Clark Street, Hicks Street matter?
Is it okay to answer the questions on chat?
You can answer the questions on chat, and if you want to repeat it when we have the meeting part, you're welcome to do so. I don't want to cause any confusion. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I just want to, this is the format that we have to follow. Okay, so once again, are there any non-board, non-committee, just
Are there
folks
any
who
members
wish
of
to-
the general public who wish to speak? If not, we may close this public hearing and proceed to the committee meeting.
Right, so we'll give it 5, 2. All right, this is 6:21 p.m. and I am closing the hearing for the Clark Street, Hicks Street matter. And now we're going to move on, also at 6:21, to our regular meeting of the Landmarks Land Use Committee of Community Board 2. Again, I'm going to thank Dorothy Christopher as co-chair and Karen Johnson, most of all, for taking the minutes of this matter. And I'm Carlton Gordon. We did have a run-through roll call of the people on the who are committee members who are and appreciate it, and thank all of you, and thank all people who are presenting tonight as well.
Mr. Gordon, sorry to
yeah.
interrupt. I just want to note that Miss Ali is here.
Okay, thank you, Hausman, Ms. Ali, for coming as
Thank
well.
you.
Okay, yeah, and Karen will make note of that in the attendance listings. Thank you. Okay, what I'd like to do, okay, well, first it's next we'll get up to this agenda thing. What I'd like to do is to move up the 180 Schermerhorn Street right about now, because that's not being voted on. I'd like to give the presenter for 180 Schermerhorn Street, the parking matter, a few minutes, since we're not going to vote on it, but at least this way we can hear what has to be done. It will be a future upcoming ULURP matter, so you might want to take some at least mental notes, if not actually jot things down and make note of it. But what I like to do is now, if there's no objection, I'd like to move up to 180 Schermerhorn Street and have the presenter for 180 Schermerhorn Street present to us what their plans are, which is an expansion of parking lots or parking spaces from about 100 to over 250 approximately, and to do some work around with the planting as well, to reduce the planting sizes and a reconfiguration of the area. So I'd like to go ahead at this time with 180 Schermerhorn Street, if you are there.
Yeah, hi, Jim Power from Framer 11.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm sorry. I drank too much coffee or something, but I do want to go back to the agenda. Carlton, I apologize, but I do think that we need to adopt the agenda, approve the minutes, and then there's an open session before we can go into any matters for discussion. So can we do that real quick? Sorry, everyone.
Thank you, Daughtry.
Okay,
Motion
well,
to
then what I'll
approve
do
the
is
amended agenda.
Okay, then we'll just stick. If we stick with the agenda, then we'll have 180 Schermerhorn is going to have to wait till we get through all of the other matters.
Mr. Flournoy,
right,
can you confirm that what you're proposing?
Yes, I'm making a motion to approve the amended agenda as you stated, Mr. Jordan.
Second.
Okay, thank you. If there are anyone objects? Okay, if no one objects, then we'll go ahead with what I have proposed to get to 180 Schermerhorn Street and have a quick discussion on that matter. Again,
I'm
it's not a
sorry,
matter.
Mr. Gordon, we got to have an open session before we start. It's for non-committee, non-board members.
Well, that's what I have a question. I'm not a committee member, but I'm a board member. When you get to the items that I'd like to discuss, am I going to get a chance to? Because the last time
You'll get a chance. Yes.
Yeah, well, the last
definitely.
time I did that, I was not permitted to speak. So I want to make
You were
sure.
permitted. You're Sid. You're always permitted to speak at our meetings.
Okay, thank you. I'll
so-
put my hand down.
Thank you.
Okay,
Make a motion
thank
to
you.
approve the minutes from last month.
Second.
Any objections? If no objections, thank you. All right, now we have this open session for the public.
And I will clarify, sorry, Carlton, that this is only in regards to the items on the agenda this evening, this section.
Okay. What we'd like to do is, at this point, is to open up the session for any non-board, non-committee people, if they have any comments upon the agenda. Hearing none.
We have
I
a
would like-
comment in chat from Rosaria Sinisi. I don't know if someone can interpret if she should speak now or later. I'm not sure.
She can speak now.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
If
Go
it's
ahead.
possible, I think it would be a lot easier for everybody to understand the comments if they could hear them after each of the last two agenda items. I'm with CRNP, which is local community group. I'm not sure if that counts as public comment or organizational comment or what.
Public comment, go ahead.
Okay, so you want these comments before you've seen the presentations?
Well, just give a brief, just to say that you have a concern on a specific item, and then we'll have the full presentation, and then we'll go with the members and then open it up as well to you.
Okay.
We'll do it that way.
Okay, my first comment, and this was actually encapsulated in a number of community letters to the board, is on the 357 Clermont proposal for the sign at Bishop Loughlin. We have a significant issue with that because it actually is a violation of the zoning regulations for the city of New York. And we obtained an opinion letter from a zoning professional stating that this particular type of sign under the zoning resolution is simply not permitted in residential districts. That letter is included in the material that was submitted. And we'd like to put that on record, and the community groups have submitted extensive photography and citations to the zoning resolution, which are all in front of you, assuming that you have that material. So that's comment number one. Number two is with respect to the proposal for 50 Clifton Place, which is actually for two buildings, including both 50 Clifton and 302 Grand. As you'll see from all the letters submitted, there's basically a consensus that with the modifications that were made by the applicant after we had a Zoom meeting with them, which was quite productive, we recommend approval for 50 Clifton Place. But there are a couple of issues left to be resolved that we simply don't have enough information on for 302 Grand. So we're recommending approval of 50 Clifton and would like to get those additional details on 302, until which time we recommend disapproval. And I'd be happy to flesh that out later.
Okay, thank you. All right, yeah, we'll partake. We'll do how the discussion will work is that, of course, we'll have the presentation of the specific items that you talked about, and then we'll get it from the after the presentations, the comments and questions from board and committee people, and then I'll open it up to you at the end of it for your comments as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. I'd like to try to get 180 Schermerhorn Street up and over, since there's no voting on this matter.
Mr.
So-
Gordon, there appears to be a public comment request from Sandy Balboza.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Wilkins.
I was asked to come, I think, to talk about Schermerhorn Street, Taya. When am I supposed to do that, if that's the case?
180 Schermerhorn? Okay,
No.
well, if it's going,
No.
if you're gonna talk about, okay, I tell you what,
The Schermerhorn Street redesign, I think I'm supposed,
it's the parking, it's the parking matter.
Mr. Gordon, if you are open to allowing public commentary after each of the applicant's presentations, I recommend that we move forward with the agenda and just include the
Yeah.
comments later.
Right. Yeah, let's do this one, and then Ms. Barboza, if this is the matter that you're a question of, we'll open to you. Okay, I'd like to move on to 180 Schermerhorn Street. It's an expansion of the parking lot, of the number of lots. Again, we're not going to be, will not be voting on it tonight, but at least this way we'll have a, this is a preview presentation of this matter. So please go ahead for 180 Schermerhorn Street.
Oh, hi, I'm Jim Power from Kramer 11. My video is not on.
Just give us
there we go. Great.
briefly what you can do, the best you can do, just for a few
Okay, thank you.
minutes.
And Anthony Borelli is here as well. Is your video on, Anthony?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'd like to share the screen if that's possible, or would you prefer to just have 100% verbal?
Hi, Ms. Borelli.
Thanks. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Borelli. I'm the Senior Vice President for Edison Properties. Edison is affiliate of the owner of the applicant. Edison is a family-owned company. It was founded in 1956. We have 3 parking businesses in Brooklyn. All of them are owner-operated. We don't lease out to other operators. So everyone you see there we're all employees of the same company. Jim Power already spoke briefly. I'll let him introduce himself and the actions that we're requesting, and then I'll go through a very brief set of slides to give you a clear idea of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, hi, Jim Power from Kramer 11, Land Use Council to Edison on this application. Thank you for having us this evening. This is a pre-certification meeting. We have had this application. We've been in discussions with city planning about this application for some time, and we wanted to make sure and get in front of the community board at this point in time before certification to talk through the application and see what questions and issues you all might have. The application concerns the existing parking facility at the corner of Schermerhorn and Hoyt Streets, which has an existing capacity of 114 spaces under its CO and an allowable, an existing operational capacity of 114 spaces. The CO allows up to 150 spaces, and we're seeking an increase in the capacity up to 245 spaces, including parking lifts. That requires a special permit from city planning, and we're also requesting an authorization to modify various landscaping requirements that would be applicable to the new facility, specifically concerning the edge condition around the property to reduce the required perimeter landscaping from 7 feet to 4 feet because of various site constraints that we have, and in consideration for which we are proposing a landscaped public seating area at the corner that would include benches and landscaping and trees. And all in all, we believe it's an excellent site plan and of great benefit to the community. And we would request your eventual support. And I'll turn it back to Anthony for more details.
Yeah, this will be quick. I just want to, make sure everybody's familiar with the location. I'm sure you are. But this is our existing facility at the corner of Schermerhorn and Hoyt. As Jim said, its operating capacity right now is 114 spaces. It does have 2 high lifts already. It's worth noting that all of the access in and out of the lot happens on Schermerhorn right now. The zoning lot, it's a little weird. The zoning lot is what you see here outlined in orange with the orange line. Our site here at lot 20 is part of the same zoning lot as these 2 buildings. This is the common ground supportive housing development, and this is the hotel residential development on the corner. As a result of those 2 projects, our site was left with 0 buildable FAR. So we can't build anything here in terms of FAR. And so that's why it's been a parking lot historically for a very long time. Again, here's a land use map showing land use context. It's at the edge of residential State Street, but also part of the downtown Brooklyn district, very much so. Some pictures to show perspective. Again, I'm sure you're very familiar with this location, but I do have pictures as part of our application showing various views from the lot and at the lot. This is the proposed layout for the parking lot. As you can see, it has 2 rows of stackers lining the perimeter of at Schermerhorn. And it has the required number of reservoir spaces. Here, it has a new attendance booth, bicycle parking, and here is the perimeter landscaping that Jim was talking about earlier. Through conversations with city planning, the reduction in depth here was sort of made up for by providing this deeper landscape sitting area at the corner. The design is reflective of the public realm plan that the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership has put together. So we took some cues from that to provide some consistency with other improvements in the public realm. And I will show you this is the landscaping plan. This identifies all the various types of plantings and their varieties. We also looked at the Downtown Brooklyn Public Realm Plan to look at their planting palette to inspire this plan. Just a detail showing the perimeter landscaping up here, the 4-foot width perimeter landscaping here, and then this is a cross section of the sitting area at the corner of Hoyt and Schermerhorn. There's a little bit of a close-up showing some design details. This area is 858 square feet. 60% of that is softscape, and the rest is permeable pavers. So there are pavers here that are laid on top of an aggregate that allows drainage. Here's our planting schedule, again, taken from as much as we could from the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership Plan. We have talked to the Borough President's Office about this, as well as Councilmember Ressler. Now I'm talking to you guys. We do plan on taking the show on the road, so to speak, once we feel comfortable that the key stakeholders have had an opportunity to understand what we're doing and for us to respond to any comments you guys may have. But that's next. Our certificate, as you know, this is a pre-certification briefing. Certification, could happen by the end of the year, but we're not in a rush if it means more time is needed. For any of you, for any of the stakeholders, the key ULURP stakeholders, for us to address any concerns before certification. But we're pretty much, the application is pretty much complete. And we're just waiting to go through these briefings in order to sort of let city planning know that, we'd be comfortable with actually certifying. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, James Power. Thank you, Anthony Borelli. First, I'll just ask for any, again, it's not a voting, we're not voting on this tonight, but any questions or comments from our committee members, our board members? I see Judy Stanton's hand is raised.
I'm unmuting myself to ask if I'm correctly understanding the agenda and the words that we just heard, that the amount of open space is being reduced by pretty much half. Is that correct?
The perimeter landscaping the depth is being reduced from 7 feet to 4 feet. That's what we're proposing. And the difference, that 3-foot difference around the entire perimeter is being made up for at that corner. That's why it's much deeper and wider than what would be required.
But I would also chime in that there's a substantial net increase from the existing condition, which is there's no landscaping there right now, so and no public access area.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Sid Myers, although Sid's on our committee, he's a longtime board member. So Sid, I'm going to give you a.
Well, there was a claim that well,
the entrance right now is on Schermerhorn and the exit is on Hoyt, or the change will bring the entrance on Schermerhorn and the exit on Hoyt?
Right, that's a good clarifying question. I should have said this. Currently, all ins and outs happen on Schermerhorn. There's a double wide driveway on Schermerhorn. Under the proposal, we would reduce the width of the Schermerhorn curb cut, move it further west away from the intersection, and it would be used for entrances only, so that all exits would happen on Hoyt Street. at a controlled gate. So all cars come to a full stop before they leave, and then they exit onto Hoyt and travel south toward Atlantic.
Now, you're aware on the weekends that Hoyt Street becomes a open street with it's open. Actually, I think it's a completely closed street for people to use, for the businesses to use for seating, right?
Well, I've observed that. I didn't know that that was a permanent condition.
It's a permanent condition. Or at least it's a permanent condition as long as DOT has approved it. And it is approved by DOT.
Yeah. Well, we did have a briefing with DOT and we did explain this to them. And, you know, when we were talking to them about the bikeway plan, and we did present this plan to them and they did not raise that objection. So that's something we can clarify.
And the Boerum Hill Association is the sponsor of the open street.
Yeah, they're on my list.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to recommend to make sure that you contact the Boerum Hill Association as well.
I have a comment from Howard.
I'm going to jump
sorry.
over to, I'm going to jump over to Daughtry, then Bill.
Okay.
Daughtry.
I'll lower my hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for coming to us. We sincerely appreciate the opportunity to talk with you before you get certified. These are my comments. I also have Howard's comments from the BHA, which I'll do later. I think I'm very concerned. So you're more than doubling the amount of cars being brought into, in essence, what is a historic neighborhood. More than double. So that's one thing. And I have to be very frank with you that I am very concerned about all those cars exiting onto Hoyt Street, because due to the open streets that Sid raised, they're going to all travel down State Street. We don't need more cars in downtown Brooklyn, period. I know that's not your argument, but that's my point. I certainly don't think that we need more than twice as many. And I don't think that you spoke to what that whole, how the cars will be arranged. If I'm correct, I believe that there are car stackers that are 4 cars high that will be facing Schermerhorn Street. And that's a pretty aggressive, not very attractive relationship to what is in essence a highly pedestrian centric and cycle centric area. So I just want to, if you want to comment to those, but I just had to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Sure. No, I appreciate your comments and your perspective. I guess I should say that the current capacity is 114 spaces. Zoning in our certificate of occupancy allows up to 150. And that is our, that's our no build condition. In other words, that's what we would probably do if not for the special permit process. So we acquired the lot in 2015 from the previous owner. And a few years after that, we decided to pursue capital improvements because, quite frankly, it could use some. And through that internal deliberation, we figured, let's go for the special permit. Let's increase the capacity to what we can reasonably achieve safely on that location, using the lift technology that we use at our 2 other locations on Schermerhorn. One's just down the street and the other one's a little bit closer to Court. And so if you're not familiar with our 4 high lifts, you can see them in action at those 2 locations. We did propose a green fence, a 6 or 8 foot green fence at the perimeter, like the one we have at 75 Schermerhorn. But city planning did not find that acceptable for urban design reasons, or they just didn't like it, which is why we went to the more typical perimeter landscaping with a typical fence. So yes, it'll be a new condition. I do think that Schermerhorn can handle the sort of mass of the structures. It is a wide street. There are tall buildings on that street. And in fact, I once presented a proposal for 4 high stackers in a historic district in Manhattan, and the staff at the LPC actually appreciated the volume of the stackers as being about the same scale as what used to be there before the older buildings were demolished. So, you know, that's what they said to me. So I'm just saying, I think it's not necessarily an egregious affront to the streetscape. In fact, I think it'll contribute our project will contribute quite a bit to its enhancement over existing conditions.
Okay, thank you. What I'd like to do is, I see 4, we'll take the last 4 on this matter, and then wrap it up because we have a whole lot of other people who have to make their presentations, plus on the ULURP one, which we just concluded. I'll jump over to Bill Flournoy.
Thank you, Chair Gordon. I live on 40 Hoyt Street, so I think of all the people here, I think I might have the best idea of what we're looking at here. The one issue, of course, you're going to have to look at the open street situation as far as exit. You may want to take a look at that as far as the entrance during open streets. You may want to have it switched to exit also. That's maybe one alternative if you cannot exit on Hoyt. The other thing, we lost parking when the Macy's garage was bulldozed, and actually there was a lot of parking that we had there. We need parking in downtown Brooklyn. Okay, so that's I'm all for additional parking in downtown Brooklyn. I don't have a problem with the 4 stack because you're moving toward Schermerhorn and not back toward the houses that's on in the back of the parking garage. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. As far as the fence is concerned, when you have the fence up, is the fence also going to be around the garden, or is the garden going to be exempted from the fence?
Right. The fence, if you imagine the perimeter of the parking area, which is not that open sitting area, the fence would hug that. So the fence goes in behind the benches. So that seated area is completely open to the sidewalk.
Okay. Will it be at the same level as the sidewalk, or will you have a slight? Yeah, you're going to answer.
Yeah, it will. I mean, I don't know the grade conditions. Like, we haven't designed it yet, but in concept, it is at the same level as the sidewalk, and that's in part to make it highly accessible and easy to get to. And there's also we've designed it in a way to provide for wheelchair seating next to the more typical seating. And so, yeah, we're expecting it to be all at the same grade.
Okay, excellent. Okay, these are just suggestions I was making. I just wanted to run those things by you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Next, we'll go over to Ernest Augustus.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. I happen to agree with Bill Flournoy. There is a need for parking downtown Brooklyn, since downtown Brooklyn has lost considerable parking spaces. I observed that the open street did not mitigate the zoning resolution regarding that lot. He's entitled, as the owner, to maximize that lot to 150. That's consistent. He's not impacting anybody else on his lot, and it's allowable. So I thank him for coming during this pre-cert and to share that information. But I think it's appropriate. No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernest. Judy, I know you spoken earlier, but I can give you a minute and then I'll move on to.
Thank you, Carlton.
Yeah.
I asked a second question, which is I'd really like to hear what Councilmember Ressler had to say if he provided you with any comments, because I would think that he would be not only against additional parking, but any.
I'm sorry. I'm not aware of comments yet on this one. He has a comment on another matter, which I will.
I've asked the applicant, Carlton. I asked the applicant.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to answer. We did brief Lincoln, and let's just say we have some work to do.
Sounds good.
I'm not surprised,
Okay,
but thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Now, Brian, okay, I really want to wrap up this matter. All right. Brian, can you take I'll give you a minute, Brian.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo what Daughtry had said earlier. We had a lot of people come and talk in the transportation committee about traffic on Schermerhorn Street, and it's a very simple idea to grasp, that if we have more people park in the parking lot, they have to drive to the parking lot. They'll drive on the street, and there will be more cars on Schermerhorn. So I feel like if you want, you know, if we agree, not that we're doing that today, to add more cars to this lot, we're also signing up for more cars on Schermerhorn. And if that's what my fellow board members think is what we should do, that's fair. Just I will bring that up when we discuss the issue in the future. Thank you.
Okay.
I would add, just a point of information, our customer base is roughly 50% monthly residents, and the other 50 are transients, like people who attend the Tabernacle on Sundays or even during the week, the daily programs. So it's about 50-50 in terms of the mix.
Okay. Okay. We'll go over to John Dew.
Thank you, Carlton. I have a couple of questions. The first is, because there was no mention of the two-way bike lane that was recently installed and the traffic conditions that result from that, and the environmental impact study that is supposed to happen for any of these projects that have this kind of impact potentially on the community. My first question is, are you amenable if the city wanted to use a portion of your parking for the permit parkers that permeate all of downtown Brooklyn and cause all other kinds of issues?
We are totally open to a contract with the city. Like it's an easy customer to have. They pay their bills and they need the spaces. But currently we do not have a contract with that city agency.
And my second question is, during the construction period, how much time would you need that would interfere with the sidewalk and or street to get your equipment in and out and all that kind of good stuff? And does it impact on the street itself?
Right. It's a good question. I honestly can't answer it at this point because I wasn't anticipating it and I didn't ask our engineers in advance. But the sidewalk would either be protected with a shed or there would be a pedestrian walkway in the street, provided as you know, when we get our building permits, we're going to have to provide clear and safe passage for pedestrians during the entire process.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lee, I give you a moment because I still have a couple of people who want to get to.
Thank you. I just want to echo what Bill and Bill Flournoy and Ernest Augustus said. I think we do need parking. And as a driver myself that live in Fort Greene, I just want to let people know the increase in traffic there is because they've closed off that Hanson Street entrance from 4th Avenue. So traffic trying to get into Fort Greene from all those neighborhoods east of is it Flatbush? Yes, east of Flatbush Avenue takes Schermerhorn because it's like 3rd Avenue. It funnels into that Lafayette area by BAM, which gives you an entrance into Fort Greene, Crown Heights, Clinton Hill, Bed-Stuy. So Schermerhorn has become like a highway to these neighborhoods that were cut off from when they put those bricks in front of the Hanson Place building. But I like the project.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ellie. Now, next is Promise Sandy Balboza. Had you there?
Okay. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
So, so you want to add 131 more cars to make it 245. I'm from Atlantic Avenue, and Schermerhorn Street became when they just did the redesign which impacts Atlantic Avenue because it eliminates the westbound traffic lane. So I'm assuming that you want to, because the traffic only goes eastbound, that you want to have the traffic come in from going eastbound and then exit down Hoyt Street. I don't know, this whole thing is crazy. This Schermerhorn Street redesign is a big problem for a lot of reasons. They did make recommend making one adjustment the other night at the Transportation Committee meeting about making Bond Street northbound or something, some change on Bond Street. But this is for, and by the way, I almost forgot, the Atlantic Avenue Business Improvement District sponsors Open Streets. That's the organization that I'm part of, the Atlantic Avenue bid. And that is on a street where there are about 5 restaurants. And the purpose of that open street is to help the restaurants survive and allow them to have more business in the summer. So we were not told about this, and a lot of other things that we never get told about. But if I mean, Hoyt Street is impacted by the current situation with the Schermerhorn redesign. There are issues with parking. You know, you have a food market, Brooklyn Fair, right on the corner there. And because the two-way bike lane is in front of Brooklyn Fair where they used to park, sometimes they have to park their tractor trailers and trucks on Hoyt Street. What is the, I mean, I know that it's a problem to get to the garages because you have to drive around to come back. If you're coming from going westbound, you can't get onto Schermerhorn Street. So if you want to get into the garages on Schermerhorn Street, you have to go around Livingston, or I don't drive, so I know Livingston is one way that people have to, instead of going straight down Schermerhorn, now they have to go to Livingston, turn up Smith, and then come back eastbound to get into their garages. So there's a lot of traffic circling around the neighborhood for different reasons with this new Schermerhorn redesign. So I just think that if you do get to do this, that Hoyt Street is going to be a problem. Are you going to fight the restaurants for open streets, or it doesn't sound like there's communication?
Okay, thank you, Sandy. I have to get moving. I still have one more person. If you want to answer the question, you can answer it.
I'll just say that I'll confer with DOT
yeah.
again to figure out what's going on there, because when we did meet with DOT regarding this application, they did not raise that as they didn't raise the issue at all, to be honest. So I will go back to them and have a conversation with DOT about what the intentions are.
Okay. Final thing on this 180 Schermerhorn is Aisha Menon.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to make a comment. I am a customer of this lot. I've been parking my car here for 8 years. I'm also a neighbor. I'm in one of the homes that backs onto the lot. In looking at the suggestions for modification, I have a number of concerns. The first is the number of cars, additional cars that will be crossing a bike lane that the city just invested in, a two-way bike lane to get in. Just so everybody is fully aware, the way this whole thing is set up, the way you've drawn it is your entrance is the cars will come down the road. They'll have to, Schermerhorn, they'll have to make a right turn into your entrance. Their view of all the cyclists will be obstructed by the parking, which has been pulled off of the sidewalk. So all of those cars are parked there, which obstruct drivers' visibility of the cyclists that have right of way down the bike lane. It's a 2-directional bike lane, even though the cars are going in one direction. So it seems that the design is already set up in a way that requires a lot more driver vigilance to make sure that they're not colliding with the cyclists. And my concern is that this number of additional spots you're trying to park for is going to endanger the lives of more cyclists, which seems to be very much at odds with the priorities the city has clearly laid out in the way that they've redesigned Schermerhorn. I think all of us that park there and live on our street have felt the inconvenience of the one directionality of Schermerhorn. It's very hard to loop back around. That is what it is. And I think we all accept that the benefits that we're able to deliver to other modes of transportation to get around our very congested city are fantastic. But the suggestion here that this particular location can accommodate and absorb an increase of this order of magnitude of vehicles into the lot, and then of course we haven't even addressed the process of getting out, seems to me like it's going to be very much at odds with the health and safety of the cyclists. I think we're also very concerned about the shadows that 4 high stackers are going to present. I wonder how healthy all those trees are going to be if 35 to 40 feet high up, right next to them on the southern side where all the light comes from, is going to never reach any of those leaves. The resident experience walking on that street is going to be pretty awful. I think the other lots that you mentioned that you have in the neighborhood with 4 high stackers are all up against a building wall. They don't hang out right along the streetscape. I've only seen this in one place in the Lower East Side, and I can tell you that neighborhood feels awful when you walk past those stackers. It's really, really unwelcoming. It's very dark. It doesn't feel good at all. The congestion down off of Hoyt Street onto our street is going to throw a lot of cars down Hoyt. If Open Streets is maintained for the stretch from Hoyt to Atlantic, then all those cars will be making a left turn and heading down on State Street. Last time I did this, it was just on a weekend, I had to wait 4 traffic lights to be able to wrap back on Atlantic because I had to make a right turn on Nevins, and the cars that come south on Nevins jam up the whole stretch for that 1 block from State to Atlantic, and I couldn't make a right turn. 4 lights I was waiting to just get around the corner, with 250 cars letting out onto Hoyt and then dumping onto State. I think in order for this to work, you're going to have to manage a lot of other modifications in terms of how traffic flows, and all of that is going to make major negative pollution, traffic, noise, and congestion impacts for the residents that live on those streets. These are just some of the things that me and many of my neighbors who are joined with me on this call are concerned about. And we relish the opportunity to lay out the full list at another time.
I have a whole lot of other things on the agenda, but thank you. I think you made your points. Okay. You wish to answer?
I'll just briefly comment. I listened, I took notes. We will be back. There is a full environmental assessment done for this that does measure the number of incremental trips above what currently happens. And it's just worth reminding everyone that there's no development potential on this lot. The no build scenario would be 150 spaces with hardly any improvements. So that's the conversation we're happy to have about how to make this something that's more palatable for the community. We could talk about EV chargers, we could talk about bikes, we could talk about all sorts of things that might be additional benefits to the community, but we'll be back. And in the meantime, I'm happy to take questions offline if you'd like to meet.
Thank you, Mr. Burley. Thank you, Mr. Powers. Okay, we're gonna stop right here. I have to give your colleagues from the other buildings now an opportunity to make their cases. All right, so I'm gonna move on. We're actually moving backwards, so to speak, over to 43 Clark Street, 111 Hicks Street, the physical culture establishment, the squash courts and the pools and everything else. We've had a nice presentation. Now I wish to open up the floor to any questions or comments from first committee members or board members on 43 Clark Street, 111 Hicks Street.
So we're done, right? You can go.
You're done. Yeah, yeah, you guys, yeah, 180 Schermerhorn's done. You got your comments. You can move on. Now I want to move over back to, to Clark Street and Hicks Street. Yes, Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I have a comment and a question or two. My comment is that typically, just because things have been done in the past is not necessarily a reason to do them again. But that being said, I had some specific questions regarding the certificate of occupancy and the variance requests regarding that. When I looked on the biz, I saw that the TCO was never, you never got an FCO, is that correct? Or did I misread that? And can you clarify what the variance request is in regards to the certificate of occupancy?
Sure. The variance request is simple. It's to reflect the renewal of the variance and to list the hours of operation.
Okay, so there is an active final FCO that allows the physical culture establishment uses on the floors in question?
Yes, I believe so. And it's just FYI, it's not a PCE anymore. There are no more PCEs. There are now health and fitness establishments which no longer require a special permit, but it's the same, it's the facility nevertheless.
Okay, thank you for making that clarification. I think it's important, that last piece that you slid in there, which is that if you were applying for this currently in a new building, you would not have to get a BSA consideration, correct?
You would not need a special permit anymore, but remember, this variance was issued because this was and will be in part a commercial use in a residential district. So that's what the variance is for.
Great, thank you.
I should also add, I totally neglected to say this. We have a very supportive letter from Councilman Ressler on this application, as well as the St. George Tower Owners Corporation. I just forgot to say that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you reminded me. Lincoln Ressler did send the board, I think he sent us to the board. We have a record of councilperson Lincoln Ressler's support for your application. So we've seen that. John Dew.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. My same question. Please, presenter. How
Mr.
much
Dew, Mr. Dew,
interference
my friend.
is there?
Mr. Dew?
Yes.
Hi.
Turn
could
off
you
my
stop-
video.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you hear me now? I'll assume you do.
Yes.
The same question I asked previously, is there any, can you describe the interference on the sidewalk during your period of construction? And because you mentioned ADA, is the entire physical cultural establishment or whatever it's called today, ADA compliant?
Scott, you want to answer that?
Sure, Howard, I can take some of those questions. Regarding the construction of the project, if you recall from the image that we had shown, there was the entry coming into the building, which was the members' entry with that canopy that extends over. Just to the right of that, there was another set of double doors that's used as entry into the building, a maintenance entry and support entry. That's the location where materials would be brought in for the renovation project, loaded in from the street. That's the first part of the question. The second part is in regard to accessibility. Currently, there is no or limited accessibility getting into the facility. If you've been inside, you may know that as you walk inside, there's a set of stairs that takes you into the entry presently. And there are a series of different levels within the gym as it exists today. We're looking at ways to improve that, primarily bringing a person into the building or into this tenant space from the street down to that entry level, and also improving access onto the various levels within the tenant space itself.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Bill Fenoy.
Thank you, Chair Gordon. I just want to address the one item that hasn't been addressed yet, change of hours. Okay, why the change of hours?
The proposal is to change the opening hour from 8 a.m. to 6 a.m. Another member of the team can explain that, but I know that I go to my gym. I go to my gym about 7 a.m. And I think a lot of people like to go before work. But
That's
David,
really, to accommodate people who want to go before work is really the main, which a lot of gyms are open that early for that same reason.
Yeah, I just wanted to address it, that's all.
Yep, no, I appreciate it. It's a good.
thank
point.
you.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any other comments or questions from committee members or board members? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion. Yep, go ahead, Dr. Go ahead.
A motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions on the motion? Okay, Karen, you can do the roll.
Sure.
I'll go last.
Okay. Hasra Ali,
Yes.
Ernest Augustus,
Yes.
Esther Blunt,
Yes.
Kari Bailey. Kari, are we here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Daughtry? Costello,
Yes.
John Jew,
Yes.
Bill Flanoy,
Yes.
Brian Howell,
Yes.
myself, yes. Yvette Richardson,
Yes.
Judy Stanton,
Yes.
and Carlton Gordon.
Yes.
Unanimous.
All right, you got it. 12-0-0.
There you go.
Thank you
Okay.
all, and it was very nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. We will be
Thanks very
presented
much.
to the full board, but thank you for your patience and cooperation. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is the request for wayfinding and signage at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Brooklyn Navy Yard wants to do work on some of its the gates and some of the concrete and some of the signage to improve the wayfinding around the Brooklyn Navy Yard, so that it makes this wayfinding easier. So I think that's a summary of it. Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Yes.
Let's say ahoy and all hands on deck.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me. Shana Leibowitz, I'm the Senior Vice President for Planning and Transportation at the Navy Yard. I have a presentation here that is our PDC presentation. You'll see that there's 79 pages, so I'm not going to go page by page. I will spare you. So I'm going to hit the highlights. I appreciate the introduction. You know, this project is really exciting for us. You know, the yard is 300 acres and we have 4 different main vehicular gates, and they all look different. And some of them have very large walls next to them. So not only is this a wayfinding project, for us, this is about optimizing security at our gate so that there is visibility. You know, as you know, the greenway goes around the perimeter of the yard. And the walls that we have and the fact that it's not transparent, the drivers can't see the bikers and pedestrians and vice versa. We think it's real critical not only to improve the brand of the yard, but actually to improve visibility into the yard and to avoid some of the conflicts that happen at our perimeter gate. So obviously, here's our site. Here's our 4 main entrances. When we first started this process with PDC, we had intended to do all 4 of our vehicular gates. We have done the designs for all the gates, but we are only going to move forward with our gates on Flushing Avenue to start with. So our Cumberland gate and our Clinton gate, but the approach and the design for all of that that we are using for those 2 gates will be used at these other gates as well. We're not doing the Kent gate for now because this is adjacent to our master plan site. And there's we are going to wait to do the gate, which we are going to pull back into the yard to provide open space and public access. And so we're going to wait to do that when we do our next building. And then the Sand Street gate, we're just holding off because of all the development Wegmans went in, and then we did another building, and we just thought we didn't want to disrupt the activity over there at Wegmans or for our tenants right now. So we're going to start on the Flushing side, which I think are critical gates. Again, Cumberland, as you can see here, I think if you're familiar with this, there's a giant red brick wall. It's pretty imposing. This is what was left from the Navy. And there's an Iron Maiden here. There's really very little sight visibility into and out of the Navy Yard here. Same thing as at Clinton, not quite as dramatic because the wall isn't quite as long, but you can still see that there is, because our trucks have to sit so far back for queuing purposes, there's limited site, availability at our gates. Here's our Sand Street gate. Again, we're not going to, in the future design, the Sand Street gatehouses will remain. Our new gate will be pushed back after the entrance into the Wegmans parking lot. And at Sand Street, again, at 10th Avenue, again, this is our master plan parcel. And so we'll be pulling the gate way back into the yard to allow public access around our barge basin site. So this really, our wayfinding and gate projects extend from our master plan. The yard is 11,000, has about 11,000 people in the yard today. With our master plan developments, we'll grow to about 20,000 people in the yard. So getting people in and out of the yard is real critical for us. And so this is a really, really important project for us to do. The wayfinding project affects the gates, but it largely affects the interior of the yard, where we'll be doing new signage and environmental graphics inside the yard to help people get around the yard once you're inside. So again, we want to create a distinctive and navigable threshold. So we want to actually have access for the bikers, for pedestrians, for the cars, and also for ADA. If you come to either of those gates today, there is no ADA access. If you need ADA access, you actually have to come into our roadway right now, which obviously is not safe. We also are going to be replacing all of our security booths and our gate apparatus. We'll be having clear bike lanes into the yard that are separated from the vehicular traffic, and then pedestrian traffic on its own. And then at our Cumberland gate, we have a great opportunity, like we've been doing at the perimeter of the yard on all of our development projects, is opening up a part of the yard, pulling our gate back and creating an open space that it will be open to the public. This is just showing you, the various nature of the exterior of the yard. It's all kind of, nothing matches. It's all a little bit of, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. What we've determined that works across all of our gates is a vertical lift gate. So instead of having gates that slide and are very cumbersome, the vertical lift gate will just move up and down at, most of our gates are open. Some of our gates are open 24/7. Some of them do close. And the gates that are open 24/7 in the event of like a storm, like a Superstorm Sandy, we also close those gates as well. So we do need a gate threshold that has the ability to close even at our 24/7 gates. And the lift gate will span all of our entries are different widths, but the lift gate will span across all of it. So again, this was the down position, and then the up position, the lift gate would be over here and would have branding on it. The design of our lift gate is really, it's evoking the cranes. I think the cranes is one of the, the features that people think of most. It's one of the, this iconic feature of the Navy Yard. So you'll see that the lift gate is tilted. Our gates have been pulled back off of our perimeter. So they're set back about 8 feet from our lot line. And on the down position, the gate will angle a little bit outwards. And this is really meant to provide visual clarity for people coming along Flushing, so that we typically have an issue along Flushing, and actually at all of our gates, where bicyclists don't treat our entries as intersections. They're sort of driveways, and so you'll often see people biking and walking through the lights. And there's, we've had some accidents, we've had some near misses. So we wanted with this angle to create a little bit of a visual cue for folks to realize that they're coming to a threshold. We've worked with PDCs. You'll see there's a lot of slides in this presentation because we have gone over a 2-year process, we've gone through with PDC about how these site plans should look. We've had some disagreements about what the gate should be. We want the gate to be very visible for the security reason. They want the gate to be very sort of transparent so you can see the historic character of the yard behind. So I think where we've gotten to is a really good compromise. And so you'll see here that we have this this is Cumberland. You have this open space to the right of the gate. People, we have a turnstile here for Navy Yard tenants to come in off hours. Over here is our main gate, and you'll have a path for the bikers. You'll have ADA access on the side. The perimeter fence will be pulled behind this landscaped area. So this will be completely open to the public. And there will be a fence along here that can be closed if when necessary. The one thing that I do want to point out too is that right now, because the wall that is there now serves as sort of a de facto bus overhang, like a bus waiting area for the MTA. We've already, since we're going to be taking that away, we've already contacted the MTA to put one of their standard bus stops out on the other side of the Greenway to avoid any conflicts with the bikers. The bike path comes right. This is a bike path that comes along up on the sidewalk here. And so we want the bus stop to be outside of that area. So this here is what the gates will look like. You'll see that they're very transparent. We have great visibility in and out. We'll have scanners, new scanners. So bikers will use a scanner on one side, pedestrians use the other side. ADA access will be to the side of that. And then we have these new security booths so that our security guards have a 360 view, both inside and to the perimeter of the yard and also inside the yard. This one shows the view from inside the yard, and you see the landscaped area here, which I'm going to get to shortly. At our Clinton gate, we are not doing many improvements, except we are doing some modest road work reconstruction so that we can put our security scanners in and modernize the infrastructure over at the Clinton gate. And then obviously we have the lift gate on the edge here. Again, our gate is going to be pulled back from our property line to give some, to extend the public area outside of our gate. And this is a view of what our Clinton gate will look like over here. This is just showing some views of the security booth and the lift gate. Our pedestrian, our security booth will have an overhang, so our guards will be protected from the elements a little bit. The palette we're using is in the landscape area. We're trying to use some porous pavers for the sustainability. We have a yellow on the base of the gate for security reasons. So to just signal to drivers that this is you'd be surprised how many people run into our gate and our walls. So this is sort of a visual cue for safety. In the landscaped area, there will be seating areas inside the landscaped area. There are going to be fixed benches that will be an integrated planter and bench edges made out of metal and either wood or recycled fiber. Some of those benches I'm going to show you here. Some will have a back to it. Some will just be the regular flat benches to give some visual sort of interest to the site. There's going to be fixed tables, fixed seats. And let me go back a few slides. There will be bollards inside there. So it's going to be it's going to be well lit. There's going to be lighting both on the lift gate and also within the landscaped area in these lamp posts and these bollards. And you can see here, there's planting areas all around. There's 2 different kinds of shade trees. And this will be a berm area to give it some visual interest. And then all in here will be a seating area. And again, Our security, this will be completely open to the public. The ground cover will be grasses, native grasses. It's not going to be too fussy. It's going to be sort of, we're trying to, maintain the industrial character of the yard, but also provide some respite for the public and provide a nice place for people to rest along the greenway. And so here's some visual drawings of it. You can see how much more visible this, how much more visible this is for cars to be able to, for pedestrians and bicyclists to also see into the yard. This is a sliding gate, as I mentioned, that will, if we needed to close this area off for any reason, we could, otherwise it will remain open. This shows you here the lift gate in the up position. If the lift gate has to go down, this is what it would look like. Again, our property line is out here. This is pulled back, so this has no interference with the public right of way. Here's some views of it at night as well. And so you can see how open this area is for the public. And there's just some additional views. It's a pretty small area, but so we're trying to make the most out of the small areas that we have. And here's the nighttime view of these bollards. And you have a wide sidewalk here to get all the employees into the yard. And the public, basically, this walkway ends at our security scanner, so any member of the public would not be able to get into the yard without having proper ID. And here's another view of the landscaped area. I should mention this landscaped area is partially funded through the Downtown Revitalization Initiative through ESDC. So we're working with them as well on that portion of the project. Here's a nighttime view of this area as well. And then in terms of the wayfinding, this is sort of, we're doing a full wayfinding program. So we have the wayfinding on the gate. So each of our gates is going to look the same. It's going to have the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and then it's going to have the gate identified on it. There will be a map and gateway orientation signage when you get to the yard. So if you're on foot, you'll actually have a bit of a sense of which way you're going to go once you're inside. Inside, we're going to have new vehicular directional signage and street IDs. We're actually moving more towards street IDs that look more like the city streets, even though the Navy Yard is private streets. We wanted to sort of evoke the city streets so that people, when they're driving, they're a little bit more safe, because I think when people come into the yard, sometimes they think because it's not a public street, they don't need to be as safe. So we're trying to evoke more of the city scenery to encourage proper driving. We're going to have new building IDs to replace the circular discs that we have now. And then we'll have a bunch of signage that shows the different modal opportunities in the yard, car parking, bike parking, and new interior orientation signs to help people, again, get around the yard. We've had a lot of conversations with city planning around our brand colors and how we're going to apply them. The fonts we're going to use are going to be typical fonts that you sort of see around the city. So sort of like bringing the city into the Navy Yard. And so we've tested a bunch of typefaces, a bunch of icons, using what's at the yard today. And so here's a slide that shows a lot of the core elements that I've just mentioned. It's going to be a change. We're actually going to be numbering all of our entrances of the yard, every door, showing which ones are ADA accessible. We're going to be numbering all of our loading docks so that it makes it easier for deliveries to be had at our buildings. And we're also going to be renumbering a lot of our buildings to make wayfinding much more intuitive in the yard. And so this is just some details about what these signs. This is the building ID sign that will come off of each of the buildings. At first, our initial conversation with PDC is that we were going to create different districts in the yard, and each district would have a different color. We've decided that we were going to do a more timeless approach. So all of the entire yard, every building will have this same navy. It looks black here, but it's sort of a dark navy color background with the building numbers on it. And so this is just, again, some of the different, elements of that. We'll be creating a new map to help people get around the yard. And so we really think that's going to help both drivers and people on foot, delivery drivers, visitors, being able to understand what what neighbors are adjacent to us and how they access the different buildings in the yard. And so that in a summary, and I apologize if I've spoken too quickly, so hopefully you understood everything I was talking about. And I will leave it there in case there are any questions. And so basically what this is the preliminary presentation that we've given to PDC. As I mentioned, it's been over 2 years, partly because of COVID, partly because we had not been aligned with PDC on the approach to the design. We are finally aligned with them, and so we are really excited to move this forward to the next stage. And so we're here to bring this in front of you so that any comments or that you want to have addressed, we can incorporate into the final design for PDC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leibowitz. And I'll just underline that, again, this matter will, after we vote on it, will be referred to the Public Design Commission. All right, at this time, are there any comments or questions from committee members, board members? I see, well, a couple of hands up. And of course, Bill Fenoy, Mr. This is your area.
Yeah, this is my ballot. They came by and did the waive signing before, but it's only a partial, so I have no problem with this. Matter of fact, I totally approve of it. I'm just kind of curious about some other items. I'm concerned about the gate being angled. How secure is that in the event of foul weather?
It's very secure. I mean, I think that and I can get back to you on the details of that. I don't have the architects with me, but it is a company called Thai Metal, and I think that we have done a lot of research on it, and so it should be very secure. But I can follow up with you if you'd like.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
They're confident. Yeah.
Okay. And the other issue I have, I've noticed that on the Navy Yard, on the side of the Pratt, I'm bad with north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
Okay. The bicycle lane is literally like on the sidewalk.
Yes.
And I almost got hit by a cyclist because apparently, I shouldn't be on the sidewalk.
No, it drives me crazy, particularly in front of 77. The bike lane comes right up, and there's actually, I mean, that's the DDC project, and they didn't do a really good job at sort of making a sort of differential between the bike lane and the sidewalk. And so it is definitely something that I've raised with them directly on that project. So I'm not sure that there's something that we can do on our side for that. But I have reached out to them about that because it is a concern of ours too, especially in our building 77, where we have the STEAM students who are standing out there and like, they're busy talking. They're not always aware of like who's zipping by on their bikes. And then particularly when you have the electric bikes coming through, it's a concern. So I certainly share your concern, and I'm actually looking into that.
Yeah. Is there a way to slow them down or stop them completely?
I don't know. And there are we do have some bike, signals there, like the stop signals. You'd be amazed. If you stood at any of our gates for like a half hour, you would see a lot of, I mean, I know, we have talked about this angle on the lift gate, but to me, it really is a good visual cue as you're coming down that like, there's something there to like pay attention to, because otherwise people just don't, they just don't look. They really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. John Doe.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. I just want to thank you for a very thoughtful presentation. You really did put a lot of thought into what is appropriate to engage the public for maximum accessibility and compliance with your rules. The way you acknowledge every building's accessibility is very important, because that is a major issue in the city of New York in terms of its difficulty in meeting the ADA requirements. So just thank you for that. Oh, and also the 12 buildings on Clinton Avenue that were previously Navy Yard employee housing borrowed the blue from the Navy Yard to put on the canopies to make sure that we continue to honor our history. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Here, Brian Holland.
Thank you very much for presentation and for continued work to sort of open up the Navy Yard to the public, including in this case, I mean, there's the garden, but you know, visually opening up if you're just walking by it. I didn't really get a chance to see the slide where you proposed where the depiction of the gate at Clinton Avenue sort of kind of was up for like 12 seconds. And I was wondering if you could take another look at that, please.
Yeah, let me,
Thank you.
all right, let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, come backwards. Hold on. This one?
Yeah. I just want to, and this looks much better than what currently exists. If you're on like the west side of the intersection, you have to like walk into the street to enter the Navy Yard.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that there's like a city bike dock at
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a city bike dock right here. In the future, and originally, that dock, if I can show you here on this drawing, we intend to eventually move that dock along Flushing. Here, we're going to pull our fence back here. Unfortunately, the funding is such that we had to sort of VE this out of this project, but we eventually are going to put an EV charging station over here, and then we would pull our fence back and combine our city bike at Building 77 with the city bike station at Clinton and put it right on Flushing, so that, because we do have a lot of people that come in from the neighborhood to use this station, to use the bikes of the station, and it is dangerous, particularly now because they have to walk into the street and they don't have a safe way to do it. At least in the short term, people that do need to do that will at least have a sidewalk now to come right, and the station is right here, right beyond the gate before our security. So it's going to remain there in the short term, and then the long term, it will move over along Flushing to make it more accessible for people.
Thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there was like enough space for people to sort of walk in, given the dock that was right there.
Yeah, the sidewalk is actually it's going to be widened here, and the station is basically going to stay where it is, and there will be more, actually it'll be safer for them to actually get their bikes out in this new design. We're rejiggering some of the geometry slightly to make sure that there's adequate space for all the different modes of transportation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Bill, you still have questions? Or it's just your hand?
Oh, I was gonna make a motion to.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make the motion after Latrell speaks.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for considering to make the Navy Yard more accessible for people with disabilities. So first, that's my first thing. I want to thank you. My second thing, I'm concerned about, like Bill, also about in front of Building 77. It's very dangerous. And I know you said that you was going to look into it. You're talking to DVC, I think you said. My concern is people from the buildings across from Building 77 saw like accidents with, people walking and the bikes hitting them. Also, there's a stoplight. The bikes do not stop right there for the stoplight. They keep on going while the cars stop, the bikes stop, and it's very, very dangerous. So I really would want to see what we can do about that before someone be physically hurt worse than what they already have. And I don't know where the accidents already reported that took place.
Yeah,
it's very, and I have a disability, and for me, I have anxiety attacks standing there across the street going into Building 77, and I guess it's not just me.
It's not just you. I comment on all the time. So like I said, I've reached out to DDC, but what I can also do is reach out to DOT and try on multiple fronts to try. I mean, I don't know whose jurisdiction it necessarily is, but I can do a little bit of work on this, and we can certainly report back and see if we can make any progress here, because it is, I'm not really sure why they did the design the way they did it. The demarcation is very subtle, if there is a demarcation at all. So I know that their issue was that they didn't have enough space in the roadway to put the bike lanes in the roadway, which is why it's on the sidewalk to begin with. But because it's on the sidewalk, I feel like more should be done to make that, make the demarcation between what is the greenway and what is the sidewalk. So I will see what I can do on my end between DOT and DDC and see if you know, we can get to some change.
There's no markings. The bike lane literally goes right into the sidewalk. There's no
Yeah.
markings. And it's like bikes going back and forth both ways.
Oh, I know, it's scary, and it's practically the same color. Like there's not much, it's like there's no change in like the texture. There's no change. There might be a slight change of texture, but it's very subtle. It's way too subtle for it to be noticeable for anybody. Definitely agree with everything that's being said. And it's something that we have been talking about, and it's on our list, but I will put it more towards the front of the things, the to-do list. See if we can get a change there.
Okay, thank you, Latrell. Bill Flournoy was about to make his motion, and
Yeah, the motion I'm going to
And I
make
see-
is to accept the presentation of the way signing by Brooklyn Navy Yard as presented to the full committee.
Second,
Okay.
John
Second,
do.
yeah.
Oh, and by the
Okay.
way, the bike lane, one of the biggest problems is the light. When the light changes, you have to walk through the bike lane to cross the street, and the bikes don't stop. So you're actually having to walk in front of the bikes, which aren't going to stop because they don't have a light. And Latrell and I almost got hit right there.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's why I said we need to do something about that.
Brian, you still have questions?
I didn't have a question, but rather than this sort of focus on why is this thing happening and asking it, I would recommend this is not as a motion, but just my point to the Navy Yard. Do you mind if I share my screen for a moment?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. Is this related to that?
It was a topic we were
I'll
just
give
talking
Brian a
about.
minute to see what he does.
All right, you guys, we have 4 more applications to review.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. I'll try to make it short. What they've done in Chicago at places where like a bus stop, and this happens at the bus stops, just to make it clear, what they've done where it passes a protected bike lane is they have, in addition to a curb, they've restricted the place where people can sort of enter and exit the bus stop. And that makes it clear that there's a crossing there and people are, expected to be crossing there. Right now you have this sort of amorphous blob. And if it were more segmented, I think that you could sort of avoid these conflicts.
That doesn't involve the motion. Can we move forward?
It was what was just being talked about. It's why I raised my hand before the motion was made.
Thank you, Brian. Okay. Are there
Ready
any
for a
other
roll call?
questions or comments? Hearing none. Karen?
Okay, Hazra Ali. Hazra? Ernest Augustus. Sorry. No worries. Thank you. Ernest Augustus?
Yes.
Yes. Esther Blount?
Yes.
Harry Bailey?
Yes.
Daughtry Kostapin?
Yes.
John Dew?
Yes.
Bill Flournoy?
Yes.
Brian Howell?
Absolutely.
Myself, yes. Yvette Richardson?
Abstain.
Okay. Judy Sten?
Yes.
And Calton Gordon?
Yes. All right, it's 11-0-1.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you to the Navy Yard for your continued cooperation.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to the Landmark Preservation Commission Certificates of Appropriateness. And the first one is 140 State Street in Brooklyn Heights Historic District. And they're looking to do a lot of work on the windows, basically replacing some of the historic fabric of the older windows there with new, I think, Marvin windows and a couple other matters at 140 State Street. So 140 State Street, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? My name is Francisco. In this case, I will be representing the homeowner of 140 State Street. May I share my screen so you can see our presentation?
Okay, and just give your last name for the secretary to.
Sure. Last name is Correa.
Correa?
Correa.
Oh, left out an R, sorry.
No problem.
Okay,
May I go ahead sharing the screen?
go ahead. It's
Thank
you'll get it from Taya Mueller.
Sure. So, slideshow. We're having a problem here. For some reason, I'll just do it from the main screen because when I click on the presentation, it's switching it to the other screen. So let me zoom out so you can see this better. Let me hold on 1 second. Share screen, second screen. Here we go. All right. Can you guys see the presentation all right?
We can see what you have there, yeah.
Okay, great. So this property, 140 State Street, is located in the heart of Brooklyn, the heart of downtown Brooklyn. It's on the corner of State Street and Clinton Street. Also, we have 9th Avenue right behind it. It's block 275, lot 41. And we're proposing to replace the existing windows and also do some facade repair work. Historically, this is our building. This is a picture from 1935. It's an image that LPC provided us with. And as you can see, most of the facades have dark windows and dark doors and dark windows. The next image shows a picture from 1980, in which you can start seeing that there's a problem with the windows. There's some dark paint, black painted windows in the back. The floors, and there's white windows on the first floor. And
Mr.
we have a
Correa?
white door as well. So
Mr. Correa?
Yes.
Hi, could I ask you to stop your face camera so that we could maybe get a little bit better sound?
Yeah, sure. Is that better?
Let's hope so. Thanks so much.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned that. So as I was saying, in the 1980 tax picture, we're seeing that there are a discrepancy in the window colors. We have black windows on the upper floors, and we have white windows on the lower floors. And this is something that the owner wanted to address. On our next slide, we have a designation picture that shows the original windows this building had as the Greek Revival design of the building. We had white windows and a black door. The owner, when he purchased the house, he found that the windows were actually black and the door was white. And we had several problems with the facade, which we already addressed under an LPC permit. So the intention of the request is to make all of these windows black, make them aluminum clad windows with the LPC requirements. To bring in some context, we went ahead and we are presenting you with some pictures of the surrounding houses in the same street. This is 111, 113, and 115 State Street. As you can see, they have, in this case, green windows and green doors on their facades. This is 119 and 121 State Street. 121 State Street, it's basically something we really want to achieve. Have the black windows and the black door and the facade completely restored. These are two adjacent buildings to us, 130 and 132. As you can see, 132 has the same look, black windows and the black door. And then 130 has an example of, discrepancy in the window colors. They have, in this case, they have white windows on the upper floors, and they have the black painted windows on the first floor and the brown entry door. Let's see our images. There we go. As I showed you previously, this is the current state of the house, in which we're showing the double hung windows painted black, the existing white door, and the existing condition of the facade. Under the approved LPC permit, we were able to repoint all the brick, restore the original color, and remove the air conditioner in the attic that you can see up top. All of this work has already been completed except for the window replacement. The window lintels have been repaired, and so have the window sills according to LPC specifications. The windows we're looking to replace have mullions on the inside of the windows only. Some of them have it on the second floor and third floor, but there's no mullions present on the first floor. And this is something we're trying to make consistent on the upper floor level windows. As you can see, these ones don't have any mullions. They do have a brick mold that it's deteriorated and that LPC requested us to replace for brick moldings that belong to the Greek Revival style. So this is our proposed elevation and a rendering of what we're trying to achieve. As you can see, the black windows, the black door will match the other properties on the same street. We're just looking to replace them, give it some consistency with the mullions, and just make it as close to the Greek Revival movement as possible, and also blending in with the street, with the other houses on the block. These are window sections of the existing windows and the proposed details that we're trying to incorporate. We are gonna propose the window mullion profiles, as you can see on detail number 3. This has already been approved and okayed by the LPC staff members. Detail number 4 shows you the existing molding profile, brick molding profile that we have, that it's completely deteriorated, and we're gonna remove, and we're gonna replace it with this profile that LPC provided us with from their book of standards and design, and everything that applies to the Greek Revival style. As you can see, this is our window schedule. The windows that have the mullions are the ones we're gonna have in the front facade, and then everything else we're gonna have on the rear facade. We're doing some work in the rear facade as well, but again, this is not really applicable to the hearing because it's a non-visible facade. These are the windows from Marvin that we selected for our proposed replacement. These are the Marvin Signature Ultimate series. It's the G2 window that has really good energy efficiency characteristics. The frame is made out of wood, and the aluminum cladding on the exterior, we're proposing to have black as the color of choice by the owner, and also to blend in with the other properties in the block. And then on the inside, we're just gonna paint them black so we can match the paint color on the interior. Here we have a section of the building. This is currently State Street, and these are the windows that we're replacing in the front, the ones that will have the mullions. And these are the other windows that will just be clear double hung windows, as previously explained. We have a few floor plans so you can go over. So we can go over together, just showing you in detail where the windows are located. This is currently State Street, and these are the windows we're looking to replace in the front.
Is this just about windows? Maybe we can skip some of this stuff, because as Daughtry,
Yeah, sure.
we have like
these are just floor plans that we're required to present for your reference, but everything else is pretty much straightforward. You've already seen the windows that we're replacing and the look that we're trying to achieve. So you can go ahead and ask any questions if there's any, or any comments.
Well, Judy Stanton will go next for the Brooklyn Heights Association.
I have plenty of comments. What Mr. Correa is not explaining fully, which he should be doing, is that he's planning to put paste on mullions. These are not true divided lights. And if it were not for the fact that he's proposing these paste-on type of mutton, this would not have to go to a public hearing. I'm going to read the allowable regulation that is approvable by staff. This is from the Landmarks Commission's website. Simulated divided light muntins can be used instead of true divided light muntins as long as exterior muntins match materials and are permanently secured to the frame and spacers exist between multiple layers of glass and interior muntins. That means that you can't paste on muntins from the inside. You have to have spacers between the panes. What he's proposing is not allowed at staff level. It has not been approved. That's why he's having to go to a hearing. And it's absolutely unacceptable in a historic district to have these paste-on mullions. He should be the same. Marvin Windows, the manufacturer that he's using for his proposal, makes the proper window. I don't know how much more they cost. I would doubt if the cost differential is enormous, but they certainly make them. And this would avoid the cost of a public hearing. Also, it's strange that you're not showing the 1940 tax photo, which shows 1/1s and also shows that the windows were black. It's also strange that you're not showing houses on the same side of the street as 140 Schermerhorn, such as 138 Schermerhorn, 136 Schermerhorn, 134 Schermerhorn. There's a lot of window confusion on this block, but it makes no sense to be showing pictures of the houses across the street. It should be showing you pictures of the houses on several houses in the row. But the main issue here is these fake muntins, which the commissioners are not going to approve. You could save yourself time from revising the application and using the true divided lights.
No problem. We'll definitely take that into consideration and we'll discuss with the owner so we can make the proper arrangements to make it that way.
I understand, Mr. Curry. If we, it's the heart of the application. Now, if you want, do you want to continue with the application and have us vote on it? Or
I'd like
do
to
you
make a
wish
motion to disapprove.
Or yes, that'll be the other choice, is that there'll be a motion to disapprove the application. So, Mr. Carrera, do you wish to continue with this motion and you wish to, or do you wish to just hold on this and discuss it with your clients and then come back at a future date?
Yes, we would like to discuss it with the client and reschedule another hearing once we have the proper proposal that will be approved. We don't want to waste anybody's time.
At this time, you're withdrawing your application at this time.
So let me be clear, just to help Mr. Correa. If you propose, if you go to the rule book, I'm surprised the Landmark staff isn't helping you do this. Go to the rule book and read carefully what it says about the types of multi-light windows that staff can approve. That means you don't have to go to a hearing. You can save your clients money by not having to go to a hearing. And you can simply, and Marvin makes the kind of windows that the Landmarks Commission staff can approve, and they would be more correct than what you're proposing. What you're proposing is not at all correct and won't be approved.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. That was very informative. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna refer back to the book and propose the appropriate.
Okay. At this time, the application for 140 State has been withdrawn.
Mr. Gordon?
But thank you for,
Yeah, I thought we were still in discussion. One person asked a question, and before anyone else could ask a question, we had a motion. That was second.
Well, if he gets a motion, they would, the motion will be to disapprove, and that's not going to help him.
I know, but we could have actually done something else before the motion was made. You didn't ask for a motion. The motion was just given before the discussion was completely over.
Discussion, right.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just making the point. Okay, it's already been done,
Yeah,
but
okay.
in the future,
Yeah.
we might want to continue discussion before a motion is made.
Okay.
We could have made an approval with conditions, so. Anyway, for
Well, you want-
future, but he's already withdrawn, so.
Withdrawn, yes.
May I know what conditions will those be?
My
Well, that's
understanding,
not that. Go ahead, Poetry.
I was referring to Ms. Stanton's recommendation that you revisit the Muntins and update them to comply with the LPC handbook.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Correa. All right,
Okay,
now we'll
thank you.
move on to 158 Bergen
Yes,
Street.
Mr. Gordon,
Yeah,
I just want to clarify that if the committee proceeds with a motion to disapprove, this is going to put this application back in a 2-month cycle. Versus if the committee chooses to approve with the condition to follow Ms. Stanton's recommendation, the application could continue to LPC.
well, I'll ask, I'll ask, do you prefer to if we approve these with conditions, then?
That's not his decision. That's our decision. And
No
I
vote.
No, he's asking us.
There's been no
Yeah.
vote. There's been no
There's been no
vote.
vote.
Is there even a motion on the floor?
There's
There
no
is-
a
motion on the
it's
floor at this
been
time.
seconded, but no
Yeah.
one's voted on it. He withdrew before
We
we
do,
actually took a vote.
right.
Actually,
think
we
it
will
will
consider
give-
that if we could
Yeah.
vote on it again and we can comply with the conditions. My understanding is that the homeowner is open to whatever conditions or recommendations LPC or you, the or community suggest.
If we give you conditions as both Ms. Christophen and Ms. Stanton have laid out, will you be able to follow those conditions right, starting now?
But just to clarify, an approval with conditions is a recommendation to the LPC, not to the applicant. So if you recommend approval with conditions, that means that the LPC will only accept this as an approval if the applicant meets the condition.
Yeah.
Yes.
In other words,
Will you,
you guys will approve it and then we will go back to LPC and comply with the requirements on their book and then the staff
yes,
level.
with
will
what
approve.
with what we have laid out. Because Ms. Stanton and Ms. Christophen have laid out specific conditions that have to be followed if you wish to get our approval. I just want to be certain that will your clients be able to follow those conditions at this time?
At this point, I don't believe I'm authorized to take that decision on the owner's behalf. It's something I have to check with him and then
The committee does not need to determine that.
No, can Bill accept the amendment and then we can go and vote on that?
Guys, I didn't make the motion. We have a motion, it's been seconded. We can vote on the motion and disapprove the motion, then make a second motion with conditions.
We could also just table the motion.
We're not going to table the motion. We have to vote one way or the other.
Okay, roll call,
No,
excuse me.
Table on the motion overrules the motion on the floor. We could do either.
And here's what we'll do. Since everyone want to make a motion. Bill, okay.
Listen to me. The Landmarks Commission does not require community board input when something can be approved at staff level. What I have been trying to explain to all of you is that a different type of window is approvable at staff level. He won't need to come back to the community board because if he follows the recommendation of the Brooklyn Heights Association without any amendments or conditions requested by CB2, he will not have to come back because he will be meeting staff level conditions for staff level approval. Did you understand what I just said?
Including the door?
Just
The door
windows.
is not up for your review, only the
The
windows.
windows.
Okay.
And it's the type of muntins for the windows. That is all. The
The
rest
door as
of it,
well. The door is also for your review because we're changing the color from white to black.
I don't mind changing my motion to disapprove the windows as proposed, but it's okay to paint the door black. That's just, are you sure, Mr. Correa?
Yes.
I actually don't believe that, but never mind. I don't even think.
Okay, so there's a motion. All right. Judy Stanton's made a motion to disapprove.
The application.
We
With the
explained
exception of the door
problem.
paint.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'm unclear. There's a motion on the floor that we haven't voted on yet.
Yes. No, we haven't voted yet. But Judy Stanton has made a motion. Initially, it was, we were going to withdraw.
Cool.
You're surely you're
And
not
she- but-
proposing to have, yeah, they're not going to approve black windows with a white door. Of course, they're going to give you a black door.
Correct.
So a motion has been made by Judy Stanton to disapprove.
As
To
presented.
disapprove, as presented.
Mhm.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that, Carlton.
Okay, the motion's been made and duly seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, the motion's been made to disapprove and second. Karen, you can take the roll.
All right, Hazra Ali.
So a yes vote is to disapprove, am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I vote yes.
Ernest Augustus?
Yes.
Esther Blunt? Esther?
Yes, it's to disapprove.
Where's Esther?
I'll come back. Kari Bailey?
Yes.
Daughtry Kostapin?
Nope.
No. John Doe? Sorry, did he say? John?
I said I'm abstaining.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Bill Flanoy?
No.
No. Brian Held?
No.
Myself, yes. Yvette Richardson?
No.
Judy Stanton?
Yes.
And Carlton Gordon.
Yes.
All right, so 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 yes.
6,
Go ahead.
4 no,
Yes.
and 1 abstention.
Oh, sorry, I didn't check back with Esther. Esther, are you there? All right, we lost Esther.
Yeah, sure, she had to go to other,
Meeting.
yes,
Right.
Esther's had other
Okay.
meetings. So with
Okay.
6-4-0, it's disapproved. You can go ahead, Mr. Correa, even with the our recommendations to the LPC and take it from there. I hope it
All right.
works out in the end.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Gordon. I thought I heard 641. Wasn't it an assumption?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
I come with 641.
Oh, okay. You said 640. I heard. Thank you.
Yeah, no, 641. Okay.
All right. Good evening.
All right, now we'd like to move on to 158 Bergen Street in Boerum Hill. It's basically looking to do exterior work at the stoops and doing some other exterior work. Yeah, in the front of the building. There's also some work at the rear that's however, it's not going to be seen from Bergen Street. But basically, it's going to be work at the front of 158 Bergen Street. And they're currently working with LPC on this matter as well.
Good evening. I'm going to turn down my volume a little bit. I have a little bit of echo. My name is Andrew Fredman.
Okay, that's all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me fine? Okay. I'm the
Yes,
architect
go
for the
ahead.
project. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, Ms. Taya, can you help him out?
Thank you. The host has disabled my screen. Okay. Let me try now. There we go. Is that showing?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Andrew Fredman. I represent the owners who bought the property about 6 months ago. They bought it in its conditions as is. There's also a violation that has been resolved with an escrow as part of the deal. The stoop will be renovated to be a brownstone stoop as opposed to what's current condition is. This is, as Mr. Gordon said, this is a two-part project. There's the front part and there's the back part, and I'll do them as separately. But I wanted you to see it's close up here as the condition of it. On the left, you see is, and I'm going to go quickly because I know it's late and I won't rush it, but I will give you a real flavor and I'll answer your questions. The left is the 1940s photo, and you see again on the right, there was a cornice in 1940. There is no cornice now. At some point, the front of the building was raised when the cornice was removed, and that's something we're going to take care of. I'll come back to these are the pictures of the building. The rear facade has a fire escape on it. You can see that there has been some windows that have been changed over the years where bathrooms are there, and there's stuff inside that is fixtures inside. That we've tried our best to qualify what building is what in the pictures, so you can see where our building starts and the adjacent buildings end. Here you see the historic district and how we fit into the historic district. We're between Hoyt and Bond on this south side of Bergen. You get a feel for that. This is a donut drawing that we've prepared in anticipation of questions and history of the block. You can see that the gray drawings, the gray buildings are the existing primary buildings over the lifetime of the block. We don't know when everything was affected, but we did do some digging to find out what everything is behind any particular building. The yellow represents a two-story addition. The brown represents a current three-story addition. The blue represents a one-story addition. This does not include any decks that have been added. These are simply buildings. And we do realize that Landmarks has told us that we've made a mistake. 184.5 has a two-story building, which should be on the back right here. These are aerial photos that we took, and we can come back. This is just giving you a sense of what exists. These are the additions that we talked about, and you can see we've put the numbers on the buildings here so you can get a feel as we go across through the whole donut of the block. Here's our building and the adjacent structures. Of course, we were lucky enough to be there in the summertime, so there are trees there that don't show everything, but it's the best we could do to get those pictures. I'll go through this quickly. That's the current back situation. The idea, I'll come back to the front proposal. Well, I'll do the front first because I think that's probably the first part of the application. So our intention is to put on a new cornice that matches this cornice exactly. We will do it in fiberglass. We will cast it and make sure it's identical. We will lower the cornice so it's in line with the adjacent buildings. The windows we're going to replace and put in Marvin 2/2s, which are consistent with the tradition of the block, and we are going to put true divided lights to avoid that the questions that we just went through. We are also going to remove the paint. We don't know what we're going to find at that point. It's many, many layers. We're going to work with Landmarks to take it off with proper, very soft methods that they approve. And then we will, at that point, we will most likely repoint, find out what condition the brick is in, and work with staff to address any bad problems that with the pointing. We don't know why it was painted. We don't know when it was painted. We don't even know how many layers of paint are on it. We can't tell from the black and white photo. We're also going to redo the stoop. And as I mentioned before, in a true brownstone. That's sort of what we're doing at the front. The back, the proposal in the back is to create a 3-story addition in the back of the building, consistent with what's down the street. And this is the current existing section through the building. Here's the front of the building. Here's the back of the building. It's not through the stoop. We did it at a different point. And the idea is to add a 3-story addition and a fence. So there would be a terrace out the back here on the highest level. This is the existing rear of the building. The adjacent properties are shown. This is the area that would be opened up in the proposed addition that would span from lot line to lot line. This
How
is
long, how many feet is on your addition from the original wall to the new? About approximately.
It is 12 foot 10 inches deep.
12 foot. All right. Thank you.
It allows a 30-foot rear yard back here. Even more, the rear yard is bigger than what's allowed. We looked at this and there was no reason to extend it further from a planning point of view. The code requires 30 feet and we're 37 foot 8 inches. The idea is to add the plan is to create a simplex. Right now there are 4 apartments in the building. The plan is to create a simplex at the lowest basement level and then a triplex for the upper 3 floors. There's a mistake on these drawings. There's an arrow that points to that this is new brick back here. The idea, this is a mistake in landmarks, and we realized it last Monday. And I did not want to send new drawings to you. I figured I'd tell you. The idea is that this would be the existing brick and is going to stay at that level right there. The idea is to put a beige brick, and we're going to have in the back, the idea is aluminum windows. I can talk about that. We're aligning it. In retrospect, it makes sense to bring these windows down in line with this level. I don't know why we did that. Realistically, I'm being honest with you, it just might have slipped through as we were, landmarks and we both didn't catch it. We've been in discussion with landmarks for probably 3.5, 4 months on this project. This is what the left and right, what it would look like. The idea is to create a deck in addition to the extension that would stick out into the rear yard so that the triplex would have access to the rear yard. Here's an axonometric of what it might look like. That gives you a sense. We would also clad the sidewalls in the brick under the current proposal. Here are more pictures of what is on our sides. You have these drawings. I don't want to bore you with them, but you can see that there have been several additions to our left and our right. And then there are plans here that show what's going on. It's the proposed plan, the demolition plans. It's just basically to create more living space for the units. This was the basement idea, to create a larger 2-bedroom apartment. And this is the demo, and this is to create a more open apartment. In the first floor, there's the deck. Second floor is a large master bedroom. And on the 3rd floor here's the roof terrace right here. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I'm not trying to go fast. I just know there's other things.
Appreciate it.
And I understand that it's that I'd rather answer your questions anyway. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Are there any questions or comments from committee members and board members?
I have a question.
Okay. Yes. Yes, Stanton.
Yeah, I'd like the architect to just clarify for me, if not for everybody, exactly what requires the public hearing on the rear facade, since it's not at all visible from the street. Is it the removal of so much historic material with a 3-story addition versus perhaps a 2-story addition? What exactly is it that staff cannot approve here?
Tell you
Is
the
it
truth,
the
I don't
extent
know.
of the removal
Yeah.
of material?
Yeah, I don't know the exact answer to that. They told me that I needed to come. They had, the current plan shows a face brick as opposed to a full, a brick tile on the rear, but that can easily be changed by, with a full brick on the outside. I don't know if that's a concern of theirs. I think they were looking for some input from the community board, which would assist them and when they present to the full commission.
Is it a light, very light brick, or you said beige, but is it gonna, yeah, because you have red. Maybe you can show another photo of the rear facade condition of the neighbors in the row.
Give me 1 second and I'll share the screen again, please. Give me 1 second. Here we are. The color of the brick was based on what we found in the preponderance of other buildings were light colored.
I see.
And we were just trying to take our cues from that. We have no specific reasons to
I see that. Okay.
any particular color.
Went by that so fast, I forgot that.
I'm sorry, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Daughtry?
Thanks, Carlton. Would you mind, since you've got this up, going back to the donut plan?
Sure.
So
we
not
go.
to be too specific and critical, but I feel like a lot of your presentation referenced the northwest corner, where you're correct in showing that there are almost every single house has an addition in the rear. But when you move into the center of the donut, it's a really nice open space. And I have some concerns regarding the 3-story height of the bulk in the back, regardless of whether or not it's seen from a public way. And I just wanted to register that comment.
Thank you. I just want to call your attention to something that I don't understand. In all of my years, there is a 3-story building in the middle of the block right here that is, I don't understand how it's accessed. I don't know what it does. It's on the lot line. I think it might have been a old garage that was added to over the years. I don't know, but I thought that was an invitation to us to begin to say that the donut is, not a true donut anymore in the middle of the building, middle of the block. I hear what you're saying. If you want to make a suggestion, I'll be happy to take it back to my client on that score.
Yeah, I will. And I do think that a 3-story addition is, let's just say, it's asking for a lot. I think that 1- and 2-story additions are easier to accept.
Well,
especially because you've got a triplex for the owner.
If you would give me a conditional approval for a 2-story, I would take that back and I'd be very happy to take that back.
Noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from committee, board?
Is there any below grade excavation that's being done, or is it all?
Yes, there is below grade excavation because in order to build the addition, we have to go down to a good foundation, a good bearing soil. So you can see here, we are digging in the cellar to hold the building up, but that's entirely
It doesn't affect the neighbors or anything as far as.
No, that we would we would not expect to have underpinning issues because we're beyond the neighbors' buildings anyway at that point.
Okay, thank you.
If there are no further questions or
Mr.
comments.
Gordon, I have my hand raised.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Bill, I was kind of concerned also about a full 3-story extension with a deck. Okay, I was also concerned about that too. Okay, I don't know if it's appropriate either.
Do you wish to make a motion on that matter?
I'll leave it to Daltrey.
Application?
I'll leave it to Daltrey.
I think, thank you. Mr. Dew has his hand up. Well, Mr. Dew has his hand up.
My comment is only that Daughtry make the motion so we can get this thing moving forward.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve with the condition that the rear extension be reduced to 2 stories.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions on that? Hearing none, Karen, you can take the.
Colton, I hear
Yeah,
the
yeah.
motion. This is Ernest. I don't think
Yes.
it's, no, I don't think it's our responsibility to redesign somebody else's project. I heard what Dorothy said that we'll move it if they would reduce the 3-story. No, that's really the client's decision. It really is. It's the client. They're paying for this. They got to do the math. They have to do the amendment. We could look at it and we could talk about it, but I'm not going to tell anyone. It's beyond my capacity as a
But the
board
motion
member
is on the
to.
floor. We got to deal
I'm
with the
I'm
motion.
trying to address it, John.
But you can vote
Trying to
against it,
address
Mr.
it.
Augustus.
Yeah, but I just want to get on the record that, I'm not here to, redesign somebody's project, but just to look at it in terms of what Judy said, this rear yard extension is not visible from, at least from the public rave rear. I mean, nobody would know if it's a 2-story or a 3-story. But that's just I just want to get on the record saying that. That's all.
That's why it's coming to the commission and to the community board, because it is open for discussion. It's what the applicant wants, but the Landmarks Commission has to decide whether or not it's appropriate. And it's very possible that 3 stories is not appropriate here. That is why it is being brought to this committee.
No, I
for a
understand.
vote.
I understand that.
I think, okay, thank you. I think we got a good conversation on that. All right, let's have a vote on that. Karen, are you ready?
Yes. Hazra Ali,
No.
Ernest Augustus,
No.
Carrie Bailey,
Yes.
Dotry Kostafin,
Yes.
John Doe,
Abstain.
abstain, Bill Flanoy,
Yes.
Brian Howard,
Yes.
Karen Johnson, yes, Yvette Richardson,
Yes.
Judy Stanton,
Yes.
and Carlton Gordon.
Yes.
All right,
8,
8
Two.
yes, yep.
no,
821.
821. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wish you luck in getting home at a reasonable hour tonight or finishing your meeting. Luckily, you're all
We're
home.
in different
Yeah.
places, but we still have,
Yeah.
we have still some more work to do. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Zayed. Have a good
Okay,
evening.
thank you. Good night. Okay, now we move over to Bishop Loughlin High School at 357 Clermont Avenue. And it's the LED sign, which some of us saw at the, perhaps at last night's board meeting. Basically, they're asking for approval of a new LED or the LED sign at that location. We'll take how we'll do it again is to take the presentation. Then, of course, from our committee and board, and then I'll ask Mr. Nisi at the end of that to make any comments that the community wishes to add. So, okay, have the presentation for Bishop Loughlin.
Okay. My name is Michael Doyle from Atchison Doyle Partners Architects, and with me is Andy Liu, my associate who's working on the design here. We did not design this originally. We were before you at the last meeting for the landscape plaza, and
I remember that, yes.
and it's under great construction, and thank you for your guidance on it. It's looking great. And the building also had, as we talked about, has come off like a $5 million exterior restoration over a few years. The school did not focus on the fact that this was an LPC thing, went ahead and installed it. And the Landmarks Commission has been very, very helpful on everything we're doing, but the staff said you have to legalize it, and that's why we're here tonight. And we're totally open to Rosaria's comments in a minute. This is on the opposite side, just to focus everyone. It's on the corner where the auditorium wing is, and we don't have the new drawings of the plaza on the other side, but again, that's looking great and should be finished in 2 weeks. So we're in good shape there. Next. This is the non-compliant sign that was put up. On the left is the existing. We're talking about a proposal to landscape it better, and where we can definitely do this. The school has the capability of doing it, and then absolutely modifying, which we've done on a number of church and religious buildings and schools, where we've modified the presentation rules and have been before the commission on it with St. Ignatius Loyola in Manhattan, Marble Collegiate Church, and we looked very closely at the Central Synagogue building. All of these have these kind of displays. Next. And this is the two views from the corner. These signs, I'll be the first to admit, can be offensive if they sort of look like Edith Joe's kind of signage, and that has to be modified and carefully controlled, and the school is willing to do that. And I think they're trying to be a very good steward of their building in the community, and that's why they're very willing to come before the board tonight with us and work with the staff and yourselves to get this approved. And that's pretty much our presentation. We're open to any comments from the board, but there was no attempt to sneak this by, believe me.
Okay, thank you. Next, we'll go over to comments from board members and committee members. I see Bill Flournoy's hand up first.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Gordon. We've had situations like this before where we had churches in historic districts put up LED lights, and it was not something that they should have done. And we told them to take it down and put up something that was correct. So the precedent has already been set. We've already done this before. We've asked them to come back to us with something that is historically accurate or something that is acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, because I thought about it, and I didn't fully understand. Who is the intended audience for the sign? Like, where is somebody supposed to be on the street? Like, whom do you want to read? Where are they physically supposed to be to see the sign, to read it? I just want to better understand what the sign's purpose is.
Is that for me?
I think so.
Okay.
Anyone
Okay.
you can
No, I'm
answer.
not being flip, Brian. I just want.
No, I didn't think you were.
Again, not having designed it myself, the intent is to broadcast that the school is there and alive and thriving, which it is, and then and to give the events that are happening in the school and the different kind of things that are both open to the community and to the school itself. This happens to be the season of open houses for the private schools like this is, especially the religious private schools. Another client had 500 students visiting yesterday on Sunday on a school we did on 13th Street. But it's really targeted towards the community and future students and current students. And the school picked that corner because the auditorium is sort of the community facility piece of the project. The rest is really the school and under lock and key, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. Ernest Augustus?
Yeah, I understand that it was done illegally, but we really cannot legalize something that was illegal in a real sense. The zoning resolution regarding signage simply says that in R6B district, the zoning does not permit illuminated sign. The only exception for that is for hospitals and related facilities, but otherwise it's just not permitted. According to the zoning reg, was it GR 2232, as I read the zoning resolution. And Bill is correct. We did disallow these eliminations in a residential neighborhood. It's not it's not a commercial strip. You have to do all the elimination in a commercial strip, but not in a residential. And I understand Bishop Loughlin, and I understand their intent was not to violate zoning regs, but in this case they did, and I just don't think they should compound it by seeking to. Now let me ask Bishop Loughlin: are you proposing to put a non-illuminated sign there?
I have not asked the administration that, but I think they probably want some signage. Yes.
Yeah, but not illuminated. Or
well,
I mean that's if you could point out to the school, that what the zoning resolution says, and they can consider it. Okay.
I see.
I just can't answer it at this time.
It's very helpful. I see what it is.
Any other? Okay. Are there any other questions or comments?
Ready to make a motion?
I was supposed to speak.
You wish to make?
Hey.
Okay. Right.
Hello?
Ms. Sinisi? Yes. Okay. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Okay. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the applicant for the work on the plaza on the other side of the school and for adopting our suggestions for light fixtures. That's looking great. I sympathize with their position because they were not involved in the design and erection of this sign in the first place. I don't know how many committee members have had the opportunity to look at all the letters in opposition from the Fort Greene Association, the Society for Clinton Hill, FGA, CRNP, and an individual who filed a letter as well. We also got an opinion letter, having been through this before with an LED sign, as you mentioned, from a zoning professional that I would be happy to provide to the applicant, because here again, as before, the applicant is stating that the staff at LPC is quote unquote working with them, but the staff at LPC does not have the authority, nor does the land use committee, to permit the breaking of a law, and the zoning resolution in fact does break that law. In the letter that we got from the zoning professional, George Janes, he also sets out what the zoning resolution stipulates are the limits in an R6B district for signage. And it regulates not only what can be on the sign, but how large the sign can be. And it prohibits illuminated signs except for hospitals and medical facilities, as stated before. So basically, also in Chapter 5 of the regulations published by LPC, they state, and that's for commercial district signage, but they also state that they're assuming that applications made to LPC are as of right okay under the zoning resolution. So it doesn't even look like LPC staff are checking to make sure that the zoning resolution is being complied with. So like I said, I mean, we would be happy to produce, all this stuff for the applicant to help them. I mean, the issue of contextuality is another one. I mean, this is right on the border between Fort Greene and Clinton Hill and has no context whatsoever with the historic buildings surrounding it. But the zoning resolution issues, I think, are really kind of front and center. So we would urge the committee strongly to disapprove, and we'd be happy to provide the information to the applicant that it seems that they need to go forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sinisi. Okay. If there are no further questions or comments from committee board members, would like to get a motion?
Motion to
Mr. Gordon?
disapprove.
Okay, I'll
Motion to
second that.
disapprove? Okay.
Because
Motion
it's
will be to
against,
disapprove.
we disapprove
so
the
again-
application, which is not in compliance with zoning and is inappropriate for the historic district. 2 reasons for disapproval.
Is there a recommendation? To get to approval?
To send the applicant back to comply with zoning and redesign the sign.
All right, so that's a recommendation. It's a disapprove with the recommendation. Are there any comments or questions about that? Hearing none. Karen, when you're ready.
Sure. Hazra Aziz.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, thank you. I'm losing my
Yeah, I
mind.
should just say again, yes is to disapprove.
Right. Ernest Augustus?
Yes.
Yes. Carrie Bailey?
Yes.
Daughtry Kostafan?
Yes.
John Jew?
Yes.
Bill Flanoy? Bill?
Yes, I wish we could have given them an option, okay? I really wish we could have given them an option.
I agree with you.
They'll find one.
I'll find
Brian?
one, I'm sure.
Brian Howell?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Yvette Richardson?
Yes.
Judy Stanton? Judy?
Judy, you mute.
I'm sure it's yes since she made the motion.
Clifton,
Sure
yeah.
she is.
And I just want to remind the committee that Clinton Hill has offered its help. So I think we're doing our job as by voting, and now that Clinton Hill will help them, and they probably won't need to come back if they comply with zoning and they design something appropriate. They'll sail through a staff level.
Awesome. Carlton
Hopefully.
Gordon?
Okay, yes.
All right, unanimous on that.
Karen, I'm here now. Esther Blunt.
Oh, you are, great. Would you like to vote on this?
Yes.
Excellent, yes, thank you. 1200.
All right, so yeah, sadly to have to disapprove, but it's these signs, especially in this part of Clinton Hill and Fort Greene, we've had a lot of problems with them, and we've tried, but they have to follow. You got to follow it. Okay.
Yeah. Can we just, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could
yes,
I just say
go ahead.
one thing? I totally understand where the board is coming from. I just want you to know the school has really, over the last couple of years, gotten enlightened about the landmark process and really wants to continue to be a good steward. I hope this doesn't affect, what
Oh,
you
no,
think.
of course, no, that's why I think we had an approval of the work that you did. I call it the yard.
Yes,
Going
yes.
towards, yeah, I call it the yard.
Well, I
behind
just
the,
want that on the record that we really, they care and we care, and we will get to the bottom of this.
Yes, no, I think we definitely, I think almost every board member here is supports or is favors the work that Bishop Loughlin High School has done. And we're sure that you want to be good neighbors with in the community. But
No,
thank
Bishop
you, thank you.
Loughlin has always been a good neighbor.
Right, I agree. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now over to 48 and 50. Yes, the new housing that they're asking for, new buildings at 4850. Wait, make sure I have this right. Yes. 40.
Clifton.
Yeah, yes. 302 Grand Avenue and 48 to 50. Yes, Clifton Place. Sorry, yes. And these are two basically new houses that are being proposed on this particular lot. It's an empty lot, and one would be made of brick, and the other made of bricks. The facade will be a brick. The other will be facade of brownstone. I will just say again, keep in mind, and I'll just repeat, especially for newer members, that a new construction, can be modernized or new. There is a great deal of leeway on new construction in a historic district. So just bear that in mind as you take the information in. So Clifton Place and Grand Avenue, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Krista Demerdash. I'm the one of the architects for the client. I also have Nikolai Katz with me as well. Can I share my screen with you?
Yes, Ms. Mueller, whenever you're ready.
Do you mind
Go
repeating
ahead,
your last
Krista.
name, please?
There you go. Oh, sure. Spell it for you.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. It's IRDACHE. Okay, thank you. So this is a site that is adjacent to 48 Clifton. 48 Clifton is an existing townhouse multifamily. Our site is 50 Clifton Place and 302 Grand. It's a 50 by 100 foot lot, and we are proposing 2 new single family homes. The first one is at the end of the 50 Clifton Place block. It will nicely end the Clifton block there, traditional brownstone, and turn the corner with brick. The other building at 302 Grand is at the far end of the lot, and it will be entered along Grand Avenue. Between the 2 buildings is a required 25-foot open space for light and air for 48 Clifton, which is behind it. It's also a zoning rule when you have 2 buildings on a single zoning site. So I'll just take you through it. This is looking, if you're walking, just turn the corner on Clifton, walking down Grand. This one here is 50 Clifton Place, and back here we have Grand Avenue. Here we are with.
If you kind of minimize your own photograph, then I think I'll be able to see. I'm looking at this from an iPad.
How's that?
I'm not always seeing a full screen.
Deck, the request is to fit to screen, please.
I did.
Could you hit the negative button once?
That's the one I hit.
I think we can manage. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we.
Yeah, and I will also go pretty quickly here too. You can see historic maps on the left, and on the right, our site over here within the historic district. Here is, this is existing 48 Clifton over here. This is the new 50 Clifton Place, and well, this is the tax lot for 50 Clifton, and this is the tax lot for 302 Grand. Here is a view looking straight at 50 Clifton with 48 here. This is looking straight at 302 here. And you see 48 Clifton in the back, where we'll be giving that required light and air. Again, a map for context. Here is our site, Clifton, Grand Avenue, and Greene here. And then views of the corner of Clifton. And then just a little bit of context for, as you can see here, 48 Clifton Place, 50 Clifton Place. This is across the street. We have traditional brownstone buildings. On Clifton, which is across the street, we have a community garden here. And then we have 2 residential buildings here. And on the end, this turns the corner from a large building on Greene Avenue, which is this one here. And this is the opposite corner of Clifton. And then this is adjacent. Here's our site here. Here is a 1-story garage. And this is actually 231 Greene Avenue, which the entrance is on Greene, and this is it turning aside.
So you'll be placing a little mini park or a little mini garden between the 2 of them?
What we will be doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a little.
It's a
forest
required
with-
rear yard, Carlton. It's required for both residences.
Okay. All right.
So, and there is actually an existing curb cut at this lot, and we're going to relocate the curb cut to be in this open space. So that, I mean, it's an open space, but it's private. It's privately owned. There will be a gate there, and we'll be able to have the owner park the car there should they choose, or if they have a car. But just to be able to, utilize that open space there. Going down here, looking at Clifton first. So this is 48. We're going adjacent to it. Our height will be the same. It's a front stoop with a cellar below, 3 stories above. And we turn the corner here, and it is brick with turning the brownstone along the base of the building. The cornice will continue, and a bulkhead for fire egress at the top. Here is the open space. You can see 48 Clifton behind, and this would be a gate for parking between the two. And then this becomes our, this is 302 Grand with the entrance for 302 Grand here. And this is the rear of 50 Clifton, which you would be able to see if you're walking down the block towards Clifton Place. On Grand Avenue, this is the facade facing the open courtyard. And this is the facade adjacent to the one-story garage. And this is the rear facade, which is only visible from people on the inner block. We decided 50 Clifton is pretty, you know, we like to think we did a nice job ending this very beautiful block. We found Grand to be a little bit more complicated because it is a mid-block on an avenue with more multifamily across the street, very, you know, kind of just flat facade brick punch windows. And we wanted to sort of speak to this and at the same time try and do something a little bit more interesting. So we looked at doing a larger brick punch and protruding bricks coming out. You can see it better here in these renderings, but let me go back to 50 Clifton again. So you can see the front facade here along Clifton Place and the side facade here along 302 Grand with the open space between the two buildings here. And then this is the view of 302 Grand here. We set the entrance back away just to give them a little bit of privacy. This is a busier road and we wanted them to feel have a little bit of privacy when they get off the street and or the sidewalk and enter their home. And the materials, brownstone and brick here, wood windows, bay window, double bay window here. We found that a lot of the buildings that end on the end of blocks in this neighborhood, when they end a block and they turn a corner, they have the bay windows. This particular block has bay windows on both two corners to this one and one corner over here. So the two-story bay window is very much keeping in with what's going on along here. The existing fence along Clifton Place would continue and it would come down along here and then continue also along this building here. 302 Grand, we're proposing a long linear brick, not like a traditional 2x8 here, but a 2x24 here with the protruding bricks, a bluestone sill here, a stepped bluestone cornice, and a bluestone base along the bottom. We tried to pull some traditional elements that you see here, that you see across the street, that you see, you know, as you go up and down the streets, but wanted to give it a more of a modern look and something a little bit more interesting. So it's just not as like straightforward as the ones across the street. These are just some floor plans. Don't know if you need to go through any of those there. I know it's late and if you guys want to just ask some questions, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, are there any questions or comments from committee members and board members?
I just have a question, Carlton.
Yeah.
Are these two separate one family or two separate two families?
Two separate one family.
Two separate one family.
Yes.
Carlton, would you permit us to hear from the committee?
You're talking about, you mean the
Clinton Hill
Mr.
Society.
Nisi? Yeah, no, yes, go right ahead. If they're still there.
I'm here.
Or Resilient Nisi or.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, first I'd like to say that representatives from the Fort Greene Association, the Society for Clinton Hill, and CRNP had a productive Zoom conference with the applicants on the 18th of this month. We made a number of comments, and on the 21st, they responded with a pair of adjusted drawings. Apparently their quote unquote renderer who does the color work was not available. So as you go through those drawings, you're going to see that some of the line drawings do not really reflect the color work. I mean, windows moved, windows were enlarged, etc. So first of all, I would suggest that before they go to LPC, they adjust the color work to match the line drawings. That having been said, the changes that were made to 50 Clifton gave us a fair amount of confidence that that was subject to approval. I mean, we recommend approval for 50 Clifton. As far as 302 Grand is concerned, we didn't really resolve all of our concerns with respect to that. And we honestly feel like we need more information, specifically about the color, the exterior brick, and possibly modifying the portico a little. We are not asking for a reproduction historic building. But if you look at the drawings, what you see is, there's a mention of these bricks being turned out of the facade, but on the elevations that show it, there are just these little dots here and there, sometimes in groups, but not covering the entire building. There are no photographs of buildings with this type of brick, so you could tell how much shadow they create. And basically, you're talking about the entire surface of the building that's visible from multiple vantage points. And we really can't tell, based on the material provided, what that would look like. And the rotated bricks have nothing in common with either the historic district that they're in or the buildings across the street, which are brick but are not in the historic district. And the members of these groups thought about it a long time and came up with nothing in either the historic district or the immediate surroundings that shared that type of brick. So we felt that we really couldn't recommend approval of that material until we had more information about exactly what it would look like. With respect to the portico, it seems like it could reflect the portico across the street in the building facing on Greene Avenue, which is shown in some of the photographs. I mean, obviously it wouldn't replicate it, but it might be a little more contextual with the rest of the surroundings. In terms of the bluestone course on the bottom of the facade of 302, we're not really sure what that would look like either. It's portrayed in a very pale blue, but the bluestone that we're familiar in this neighborhood is quite dark. So we really feel we need more color information and more materials information specifically for that building to get to recommending approval. So we would recommend approval of 50 Clifton Place, and I'm not sure how the committee would choose to phrase it, disapproval of 302 and asking that they come back with information about specific specs and color and photographs of buildings that share this facade treatment so we can tell exactly what we're looking at.
I'm sorry, Rosario, can I just, it's Krista, if I can just respond to that. We did get the renderings completed and I did send them out to the CB2, and I'm sorry, I didn't copy you on them. I knew you would be on this call, so I figured you would see them there, but we did make the changes that you requested to 302 in terms of the windows. And the portico was a little confusing, so I think it got rendered a little bit better. I do agree with you. We would be happy to provide you with some images of the protruding bricks that occur. And I think one of the reasons we've come up with them because we have seen it used successfully in other landmark districts and really liked the way they look, including the long bricks. So I'm more than happy to share those with you. And we will put together a materials board for you because I think that would be helpful as well.
That would be helpful. Committee, based on this conversation, would you disapprove of 302 until we get the additional information?
Hold on, we still have to assess what our committee, what our committee members want. So I know it's the fact. Let's start with Georgia Christopher.
Thank you. I have a question and then some comments. So for the Clifton Place, I'm curious about the brick turning the corner. And the reason I ask about that is because I think your 302 Grand would be a stronger presentation if the brick didn't turn the corner on Clifton. And I know that there are various conditions in the district that allow for either the brownstone to wrap or for brick to wrap. But I do think that 302 Grand would be stronger. It's a more modern presentation if there was more distinction between the two there. And I will just say, I'm going to make an assumption here and you can tell me if I'm right, but that your protruding brick is the standard 3/4 maximum that is allowable without any kind of heroic detailing, right? So there's going to be a little bit, just a small textural change. But I would agree that I think the patterning might need some additional consideration.
Okay. To go to the first question first, it was actually Landmarks who asked for the brick to turn the corner. They said that not turning the corner and continuing with the brownstone is really not contextual with that neighborhood. It had been brownstone. So that was a comment from them that, we followed through on. And as far as 302 Grand goes, I think that we really need to get you some details so you can understand it better.
Thank you. Silly?
Yeah, actually, I live on the building on the corner. And so my back window faces the one on Grand. I'm very happy that you're filling up that empty space and putting buildings there. One of my big concern is the sidewalk around that property, and I hope you all will address that. It's really, really tacky. It's bluestone that's all ripped up and covered with rats. Anyway, I love the building on Clifton. Both sides of the street on Grand in that block, there's not a lot of other buildings to copy. And I think there's no reason, because you're putting a new building, for it to be totally like what's there. So I like that you're making it different because it's new. So I'm really happy with the projects, but I would respect the comments from my colleagues on it. Regarding the brick and the turnaround and all that stuff, but I'm very happy to see 2 buildings going up there.
Okay, thank you.
And I love Clifton.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah,
Go
thank you,
ahead,
Chair
Bill.
Gordon. Yes, I'm sorry.
right.
Yeah, hi. I've seen new buildings going up in historic districts that really didn't reflect the buildings around them at all. Okay, and we've approved them. The 2 buildings that I see going up right now, we've gone into discussions with the Clinton Hill Association, and for the most part, I believe you're trying to stay within parameters that they're asking you to do. Not every single one, but it seems like you're actually trying to do as much as possible. And some of the things they've questioned, you said that you were told to actually do the thing you're doing as far as to turn
Turn the corner.
Yeah, turn corner, thank you. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with this. I think what you've done is you've considered the neighborhood and also the reference and the comments that were given to you. So I'm okay with this. I would approve it.
Thank you.
I'd
Thank
like
you,
to make a
Bill.
motion.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, Daughtry, make your motion, and then I'm going to go to Ernest.
I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions. The conditions being that further conversations regarding materials and colors be reviewed with the neighborhood associations and approved by them.
For both buildings?
I'm sorry, no, mostly for 302 Grand. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to second that
But your
motion.
motion will cover an approval for both buildings.
My motion will cover an approval for both buildings with the condition being applied to 302 Grand only.
I'd like to second that motion. Kelton.
Okay, with motions moved and seconded.
Mr. Gordon, may I comment on that motion?
Go ahead. Okay, then I'll go to Ernest. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was,
Yeah, let me finish Bill and then go back to Ernest.
Okay. Ms. Daughtry, are you saying that unless they actually say that the colors that the community approves or asks for, if they do not go with that recommendation, you're saying disapprove it?
I'm saying the only way that we will approve, that we're recommending to LPC, that the only reason that they approve it only if there's an agreement between materials and colors for 302 Grand.
And if they don't come to an agreement with the colors and the materials?
Then it's not an approval, right? We're recommending to LPC that they not approve it unless it satisfies the community groups.
Okay.
But I think LPC will have their own opinions on that.
Yes, I think we all know that. Thank you, Ms. Ellie. Ernest Augustus and then Esther Blunt.
As I say it, there's no problem with approving 50 Clifton Place. We have no issue with that. I think that we are attempting to say is that we would review the material for 302 Grand, but we haven't really seen it. And that's the only hang up, that not being sure of the bricks and the material for 302 Grand. And that's the only other issue. So if we could approve 50 and then come back for 302 Grand, just from the material, that's something that we, from the rendering, we couldn't make a decision on, or the neighborhood couldn't make a decision on. I don't want to say that it's minor, but it's something that the applicant has agreed to make a presentation on the material. But once you see that, we could probably approve 302 Grand.
Well, the motion, which has been seconded, Daughtry's motion is covering both an approval, a full approval on the Clifton and approval with condition on the grant. So the motion covers both properties.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. Okay, Esther?
I was just a little, because the applicant said they would come back with the materials and things so we could see. So I don't know why we would approve it before we see what they had in mind. Grant, I mean, I don't know if I like that. We're gonna approve it, and the applicant themselves said they would come back and present again.
So just to clarify, and Taya can keep me honest here, my understanding is that the condition that is overlaid on 302 Grand requires them to work with the other groups who raised the issue regarding materiality and color in order to get through approval at LPC. So I think what the motion does is it does not require them to come back to our community board. But if our community members want to see what happens, we should be a part of the other meetings with Ms. Sinisi's group, Fort Greene Association, Clinton Hill, etc.
I think what also Daughtry's motion does is to at least signal to the LPC that, yes, there's these still ongoing concerns. So before they make their determination, they'll have to ask the applicant, did you meet these conditions that have been laid out at Community 2? So I think it covers both. I think it covers the whole gamut of what is needed for these two properties. Are there any other questions or comments?
I have a comment.
We have a motion. Yeah, go ahead, Stanton.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that everybody understands, including Daughtry, that the commission doesn't require approvals by community groups. They'll listen to the opinion of the Clinton Hill Historic group, whatever they're called, but it's certainly not required. So our condition isn't very meaningful, that we'd like the applicants to work with a community group. Either the community board just decides to approve or not, as I think what is before us, and any sort of condition is wishful thinking, but not realistic, given how the Landmarks Commission works.
Well, given how everything works, everything we do is advisory. I mean, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm getting very tired, just to be honest. And there's a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. So can we take a vote on that?
Yes, although I see Bill's hand up. Was there anything else, Bill?
Yeah, I just want to make a point that this is a recommendation, not a condition. If you make a condition and the condition isn't met, then it becomes a disapproval. So a recommendation is something we can say we recommend that they consult, but it's not a condition of the approval.
But Karen, can you read back my motion? I'm pretty sure it was a condition.
Yeah, it was a condition. That's why I'm saying it should be a recommendation, not a condition.
So are you making an amendment?
I'm
that
not
Dutry
sure
would
how you would
accept?
like to word it. I said motion to approve based upon an agreement about material and color with neighborhood associations.
It's a recommendation for approval with conditions
Okay.
that the architects and the design team meet with the neighborhood groups to resolve questions regarding materiality and color. It overall is a recommendation, but because
I think it
we're
covers-
only advisory.
Yes, I think it covers everything. A recommendation with conditions. All right, and any other further questions or comments? We have a motion, covers both buildings. Fine. Okay, Karen, whenever you're ready.
Okay, Hazra Ali,
Yes.
Ernest Augustus,
Yes.
Carrie Bailey,
Yes.
Daughtry,
Yes.
John Dew,
Yes.
Bill Flory. Bill?
Sorry, I had the wrong mouse. Hesitantly, yes.
Okay. I wrote it down slowly. Brian Howard,
Yes.
myself, yes. Yvette Richardson,
Yes.
Judy Stanton,
Abstain.
A's, and Calton Gordon.
Yes.
Carlton.
All right, 11.
Yes.
Esther's here.
Yes, 10-0-1.
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
11.
okay, gotcha.
No, 10-1-1.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, we've done all the applications. Thank you for your patience.
I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Chair's report. The only thing I had, if it's just a subject, I've came across back in the New York Times on September 30th, a good opinion essay by Mara Gay, M-A-R-A-G-A-Y, called "In New York, NIMBYism is finally outlast its welcome," and which is an interesting essay about, seeing that she sees that NIMBYism is in the way of getting work done on buildings and homes that are needed. So you can read it or find it at your leisure. That's something that's of interest. All right, now next are for community forum. Do we have people from not on the committee, not on the board, who wish to speak on matters that we've done or anything else? Not hearing any from the community. I know I have a request from both Sid Myers and John Dew who wish to speak. Since Sid Myers is older, we're going to go with Sid Myers first.
You don't know that, by the way.
Mr. Myers has retired
from
the meeting.
I guess he couldn't hold it. I guess he couldn't hold up. Okay, Mr. Dew.
A couple of very quick items. I'm going to make it very brief. First of all, the Landmarks Committee voted years ago that applications that could not be seen by the public should not come before Community Board 2. So we need to make sure that Landmarks still appreciates and understands and abides by that Community Board 2 request from many years ago. The second item has to do with ADA. The MTA lost another lawsuit very recently in regards to ADA. However, those new people on the community board should know that in the upzoning of downtown Brooklyn, one of the community benefits that the community board requested was that every train subway station be made ADA compliant. To date, no stations have been made ADA compliant since that upzoning. But we do have 2 stations that have been made partially ADA compliant. One on Schermerhorn Street and the other one, I believe, on Duffield Street. The compliance goes from the sidewalk down to the mezzanine inside of the building. That is going to be helpful going forward. we have some new construction where there might be an opportunity to create a similar condition of having the construction include the ADA compliance from the street level down to the mezzanine inside of the building. So we need to gather that information and see if there is an opportunity to make that again happen while we press the MTA to complete the existing stations and to begin funding the new stations for far longer than any of us are going to be able to collect Social Security. That's the current schedule. The last item I wanted to bring up is the open streets and the bike lanes. We are not getting any kind of environmental impact studies for all of these installations. And the end results is very problematic for the community. It seems as though the electric bike lanes can go anywhere, and it doesn't make a difference what they impede, but they are not, in my estimation, ADA compliant. So how do we begin to attach what are the logical rules and laws to all of this development? We have a limited number of streets, and I said this yesterday at the executive committee meeting. The streets of downtown Brooklyn are like the veins in the body, and when you clog them, you have strokes. We're having strokes all over this community, and it's going to lead to a heart attack very soon. At some point, we have to set a standard so that when things are done, the rules that are in place are followed and respectful of the community. And my last comment is that the residential response to the Schermerhorn Street two-way electric bike lane was like a AAA battery. 3 A's: agony, angst, and anxiety. Streets came to a standstill around Schermerhorn Street. And the committee was asked to submit a letter to DOT asking that they restudy it, but they put it in place. And it stays in place until we ask for, we didn't do anything about Schermerhorn Street in terms of approval. Yet we're told that we have to partake in correction of what they did. This is not how a community board is supposed to function. We have to get our act together. That's enough for me tonight.
Thank you. Are there any other members with any other matters? I hear no other members with any other matters, so.
I'm waving and I have my hand raised.
Okay, sorry, okay.
That's okay.
Yes, Bergen.
As much as I would like to address that, I don't think it's really for this committee. I actually had a question for Taya. I believe the last I heard of this meeting, it was scheduled to be in person. And I'm just curious, it ended up being held on Zoom, if there's been any further information or as to like the emergency orders from city or state government.
Yes, indeed. There was a city, Mayor Adams passed a city executive order declaration of the state of emergency regarding COVID this past Saturday for 30 days. So we are, I'm pulling up the date one right now, 1 second. We are currently scheduled to remain on Zoom until November 21st. So just a refresher for anyone else, as long as we are under a city or state executive order that declares that we are in a state of emergency for an airborne health crisis, we may meet remotely.
Thank you for the update.
But if it ends at
No
November
problem.
21st, so is a possibility that some of the meetings will be Zoom and then suddenly we'll be back out in person again.
Yes, as this committee has experienced this past summer. However, there's also a very good possibility that we will continue to get 30-day extensions through January 2024, which is when the state has to submit a recommendation for any alteration to the law permanently. So who knows? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned again. And I guess Thanksgiving is what, the 25th, something like that. I haven't even looked at it yet, but all right. Thank you, everybody. We're concluding at this time.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for going through this long one. Thank you a lot. Thank you for